All right, everybody. All right, everybody. How's it going? How is it going? You guys like that chapter? I also gotta apologize real quick. Got no space here. I gotta eat a little bit during this because I had no fucking time today. No fucking time. This is what I get for ambitiously trying to schedule stream 30 minutes earlier. But to be fair, it was an emergency. We did have to take the dog to the vet. So, chapter was bullshit. Bullshit. Absolute fire. Yeah, the chapter was insane. The chapter was insane. I don't even know what to say. It was, I feel like this is up there. For craziest chapters. I feel like you got the mural, and then before the mural, I think Nika was the craziest chapter before this, right? Banor, thanks a lot. So I just recorded the chapter review. This is exactly what I was thinking. This is what is so beautiful about the situation. The good guy, everyone listen to Banor. The good guys weren't even winning when Emu showed up. This might be the biggest low point in One Piece since any of the Summit War Saga arcs. Yes, I don't know if this is gonna. I don't want to jump the gun to something like that because the raid fail. We don't want to go down that road again, right? But I will say the last time that it was sort of this level of scenario was at least for the protagonists, right? Like everything is relative to how the protagonists are experiencing the situation, right? If you recall Sabaody, during Sabaody, that's when you had the during Sabaody, that's when you had the situation where the Strats were already down. Like, they were losing to Sentomaru and the Pacifista, and they were having to run, roughly. I think that was what was happening. And then Kizaru showed up, and then they were even under more duress. And then, they were already down. Rayleigh's holding off Kizaru, but the Strats are struggling with Sentomaru and the Pacifista, so they're already down. And then Kuma shows up on top of everything else. And so it's just like taking a situation where they're already losing and multiplying it, right? So so far, the Giants of Elbaf already getting fucked up across the board. The Straw Hats all getting fucked up outside of the Monster Trio. And then even Skopper Gaban lost. And then, well, it's circumstances, right? And then now finally Emu comes in. The thing I would say is that unlike past situations, the catch is that we know why the situation. We could sort of justify why things were going the way they were so far because, the Strats lost to the God's Knights, but it was the God's Knights minus, but it was the Strats minus the Monster Trio, right? So the Strats losing without the Monster Trio, that's pretty, seeing them lose that easily to Gunko, that's pretty dramatic, and Robin getting caught by Somers and everything, that's all pretty dramatic, but it's not the same, because you know that at the end of the day, the Strats are not putting their best foot forward, right? Now, even when Gaban came in and Gaban lost, you know that it's not actually him losing. It's like the God's Knights had to like leverage the situation, but otherwise Gaban would have fucked him up, right? So that's kind of, we already had the sense that like, yeah, everybody's losing and things are going down, but like, there's a catch to all of this, and the situation's not quite as bad as, like, there's reasons why the situation has gotten to this point, right? And the Emu showing up and then doing all of this shit just changes everything. Because now it's like, okay, they were already down, but they had like reasons for being down, right? This is like, okay, they are so fucked that you just now have to pray that Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji show up for them to even have a chance at surviving all of this, right? That's what's really exciting about this scenario. Brook is the GOAT. I hope you enjoyed the last video. It's been a long time since I've thought about making a Brook video. We have officially entered Brook Piece, ladies and gentlemen. We're finally getting Brook content. When he cut Nami off today, it cemented his importance. That's the one thing. I do wish that we could see the Strats a bit more stressed. Like, Robin seemed stressed by this whole situation, but to me, it's just like, can we get a little bit more concern out of the rest of the crew here? They're kind of just like, all right, well, this shit's happening. It's like, the devil just showed up, guys. Like, pay attention here. Daddy Smurf, thanks for the 7. Hey, Morge, do you think Emu used Dami Reversi on Harold and the 100 Giants, forcing Loki to kill them? The circle being in the castle supports that too. I do think so. First, let's get the stream links up to 100 because the chapter was so fucking good. I do think that's what happened. I think that makes a lot of sense. My previous theory was this. It was a theory that never made it to video form. My previous theory was that Harold's devil fruit, whatever devil fruit he has, it's a mythical Zoan. We know that mythical Zoans, they can have like a bit of a persona of their own or whatever. And especially when you don't awaken a Zoan fruit properly, as you kind of saw with the Impel Down guards, it can lead to some crazy sort of berserk mode, right? With no sort of mental consciousness, right? Sorry. With Harold, my initial theory was basically going to be that Harold accidentally awakened that fruit and in the process lost control, and that Harold was basically responsible for like going on a rampage and killing all those giants till Loki had to stop him. Now it seems infinitely more likely that Emu turned Harold into one of his demons or whatever, and then Loki had to defeat him. Interestingly, Emu seems to believe that like this is what he has a concept that like a king should be. Sorry, hold on. He seems to have this view of like, well, if you're the king, then you should be like this, right? His language was just interesting, and so the fact that he referenced being a king and that, you know, you should go back to your natural state of being a demon and everything when he turned Dorian Broggie into what he did. Oh man, I hope I don't choke and die on this stream. Talking while trying to eat is stressful. Okay. Yeah, it does lend a lot of evidence to the notion that, yeah, Harold may have had this happen to him too, and that's why Loki had to stop him. And then that also helps explain why nobody fucking believed him, because what's there to believe? It's like Loki goes out and tells all the giants, like, I had to kill my dad because he turned into the devil or something like that. That wouldn't fly for anybody. And what's interesting is that everyone's being sent after Jarl right now, so I wonder if Jarl will get flashbacks or something to what happened with Harold in this scenario. I think that would be really, really good, and go a long ways to. I think this whole situation could go a long way towards helping clear Loki's name. And as for did Emu turn the 100 Giants, I don't know, because it might have been Loki and the 100 Giants versus Harold, or it might have been Harold and the 100 Giants in demon form versus Loki, which would be even more insane hype for Loki if Loki had to fight them all at the same time. Let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Bassam El Madawi, good to see you, man. Thanks for the 20. Hey, Morge, great chapter. Oh, phenomenal chapter. Give some credence to the mangaka Devil Fruit for Emu. I had a thought. Give some credence to the mangaka Devil Fruit for Emu. I had a thought. What if Brook sacrifices himself on Elbaf to save Gunko? Fuck no. Giving up his dream to save his kid would really set up the stakes. Great chapter. I don't think Gunko's his kid. Right? Did I fucking miss something? Did I fucking speed read through this chapter or some shit? There's no way. Gunko's not his kid. I think Brook needs to be reunited with Laboon. I just think that has to happen. I think Brook needs to be reunited with Laboon. I don't think that that's something that Oda's going to skip. I think that's almost too important to skip. I also don't believe it's the mangaka Devil Fruit, but I think we just got to wait and see. I mean, I've got ideas as to what it was, or what it is, but that's saved for next Tuesday's video, so watch out for that. Madman, thanks for the 2. Oda preparing an epic entrance of the monster trio and Loki. I don't know if Loki's going to be in fighting shape that quickly. I wonder if Loki's being saved for later. An epic introduction for the monster trio would be great. You know who this also opens the door for? Who else does this open the door for? I want to see guesses in the chat below. This opens the door for one other character, potentially, if Oda wants to do it. I don't know if he's going to pull the trigger on that. But it does open the door for one other person. If you guys are curious as to what I'm eating, it's a fucking breakfast burrito. Because that's how late in the... I've not eaten today. It's just been a fucking packed day. Shanks? No, not Shanks. That's right. Kid. No, not Dragon, because Dragon's probably up there at Marijua, causing this whole situation in the first place. Yeah. Someone who's already at the island. Could be Kid. Kid could do this shit. Behenort, thanks a lot. First thing Emu does here is give Elbaf a king and monologue about how evil demons are destined evolution of humanity, which is all very interesting things for a main villain to do thematically. I like that a lot. I loved Emu's dialogue this chapter, because so far Emu's dialogue hasn't given us a ton of understanding of his character. Here we get more understanding of his philosophy and his beliefs that, like, people are, like, he obviously believes in hierarchy, the way he set up the whole world, but the notion that, like, every group needs to have a king, and then Emu's kind of like the god above all kings that all kings then bow down to, and his belief in, like, the inherent evil, I suppose, within mankind, or that's, like, naturally what everyone is supposed to become. I love it. I love everything that we're getting from this character. I would love to see Viz's translation for some of this stuff. I also like the way that Emu talks, which is more, it's a different style of speech than we're accustomed to in One Piece. Jack, and I don't think we really got that clearly in past chapters of Emu, so now it's more understandable. Jack, Diep, and Horst, thanks for the 5. Remember when Shamrock left and everyone thought the threat was gone? Boom, now Emu's here, let Oda cook. A phenomenal bait and switch by Oda this arc. Phenomenal bait and switch. Like, it's just the staircase of how Oda kind of did. It's like, not a staircase, it's like up, then down a little, then up, then down a little. So, in terms of, like, establishing threat, because initially, who remembers this? Chapter 1130, right? We're introduced to Loki right off the bat. That's probably 5, 6 chapters into Elbaf. And right off the bat, it was kind of like everyone, really hype introduction. Everyone's excited about Loki. And it starts being speculated that maybe this guy's like the guy that needs to be beaten, the big boss of the arc. But something doesn't seem right, because it's like, well, the dude's already fucking defeated and tied up. And he doesn't seem to have a crew or subordinates or anything. But he's a big threat. So Loki was this wild card initially. We're clearly very strong. We didn't know what to make of him. We didn't know how strong. We didn't know what role. But he seemed bad, right? Then as it kind of moves along, it's like, okay, maybe Loki's not that bad. So then who's the actual bad guys? And then fucking Shamrock shows up. So Shamrock shows up, and it's like, okay, so it's this dude, like, Evil Shanks. We're facing Evil Shanks this arc. And then it's like, no, I'm going away. Okay, it's like, okay, he's going away. Maybe he'll come back. Hopefully he'll come back. And it's like, okay, we're dealing with the other Gods Knights. That doesn't seem like a big deal. But then we spend some time with the other Gods Knights, and the Gods Knights started going crazy, right? Like, Killingham's ability just, like, rampages through all of Elbaf. Killingham basically soloed all of Elbaf, if we're being real, right? Gunko solos the Straw Hats. Somers, who remembers that whole chapter where, like, Gunko, you've got Killingham decimating all of Elbaf, Gunko soloing all of the mid-tier and lower Straw Hats, and then so the chapter ends with, like, Somers having beaten down Saul and, like, Robin and Chopper hiding and everything. That was a great chapter, right? But then a little bit afterwards, it's like, okay, but now Gaban comes through. And it's like, okay, the Gods Knights seem like a big deal, but Gaban can handle them. And then finally turns into, okay, well, Gaban's gone now. And fuck all the previous stuff. The big bad of this arc, whether he remains the big bad of this arc or not, but, like, we're not dealing with Loki. We're not dealing with Shamrock. We're not even like, the Gods Knights are like wall ornaments at this point. Emu just showed up himself, and he just raised the stakes, like, 100x, right? So I like how Oda kind of went, like, here's Loki. Okay, well, Loki doesn't seem to be that, like, it doesn't seem like he's going to be the big bad. Okay, well, here's Shamrock. Okay, that's cool. All right, but Shamrock's kind of leaving. Okay, well, we still got the Gods Knights. That's a problem, but they're kind of being dealt with. And then, okay, here's Emu. Like, it's been escalating up further and further as to, he's been playing with our expectations a lot as to what to expect of the final challenge of this arc this whole time. Like, really, really phenomenal stuff. Also, let's get the stream lights up to 100 or 150 real quick, because this chapter was so fucking good. Snab, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 32 months. Hey, long time, Morge. Life going good. What about you? Yeah, life is going really good for myself as well. I think tomorrow, probably going to DreamCon. I think that's the general plan. So we'll probably be going there. We'll probably see some YouTubers you guys know, obviously, like Jay, Braga, stuff like that. Yeah, so probably going to DreamCon tomorrow is the plan. Today was kind of just a long day because one of the dogs, I think I told you guys this last stream, Harley, just got neutered, and then we got kind of concerned about is his incision healing properly, because it looked a little bit red, and I fucked up a little bit because I think in the last 2 days I got like a little lax with him because he's kind of moving around fine and stuff. So then on my watch twice, he jumped up on things that he's not supposed to. So then it's like, oh fuck, okay, so maybe his incision not healing, maybe that might not be good for it. I mean, his incision, it didn't look alarming, but it did make us question. And like, there's still some pinkish reddishness there. So we're like, okay, we should go check this out. So we took him to the vet today. And then basically he's fine. We just need to keep giving him drugs that will make him just be calm and not, because you guys normally in past streams and stuff, you've heard how rowdy the two dogs get. We need them to not be like that, basically. So they're gonna, or Harley's gonna stay on drugs. Blazing Blue, thanks for the 10. It seems that Dorian Brogy will probably be able to be turned back from those demon forms, maybe by Luffy/Nika, but I hope that the lifespan cost from Emu's contract sticks afterwards. Fire chapter. Yeah, I don't think that Dorian Brogy are gonna die just because, like, Oda does so many things to characters and then doesn't have them die. So in the grand scheme of things, of like killing a character, this seems like really fucking minor. It's like, oh no, he made them like the bizarro evil version of themselves, right? It's like, look, man, if like if Pell's blown up by like a nuclear bomb and like, you know, like just so many other characters in One Piece, like how many times, like Vegapunk gets killed, like, well, I guess Vegapunk is actually dead, but like all the satellites get killed, but all the satellites are alive, and like Kuma's erased, but he's actually still fine, and like Saul, like if all that shit happened to Saul at Ohara, where he's like frozen alive on a burning island when it's established that like heat will destroy ice and stuff like that, and like it's just Saul survived or whatever. So if everybody's surviving all of these other things that aren't like literal, like clear definitive narrator states it's death, then I'm just like, well, in that case, you know, in that case, maybe Dorian Brogy are probably just gonna be fine by the end of the arc. I don't know. I don't know if Luffy has the power to turn them back, but maybe like defeating or driving Emu away from this the island could do it. Wellerton Hadecker, thanks for the 10. Emu's speech about, to be clear, Dorian Brogy, maybe they sacrificed themselves over the course of the arc, so maybe they die in some other way, but I don't think they're just dead right now, like having turned evil. Wellerton Hadecker, thanks for the 10. Emu's speech about reality and logic not applying to demonic powers, do you think he spoke literally or subjectively? Toon Force versus demonic force. That could be really cool. That could be really cool. Let me read his dialogue again. I want better... Wait. I've actually only read OP scans. Does TCB put their shit out? Am I missing the TCB translation here? TCB scans. Let's see. Oh, shit. TCB's out. My bad. 17 hours ago. Holy shit. What am I doing reading OP scans for? Oh, shit. We get the good translations here. I'm just gonna be skipping this in the background. Don't worry, I'll respond to stuff at the same time. Reality and logic. Let me take a look at that. This is again super pack day so far. I like the way that Emu speaks. I feel like this is the first time we're getting a real in-depth look at Emu's style of speech and philosophies. Let's see. We are the kings of Elbaf. Yeah, this is... His style of speech is so cool. It's so old school, Old Testament type, you know? Now accept my ungodly power. Ungodly power. Thou shalt cast aside thy lifespan for a body unyielding to death. Under Mu's dominion thou shalt be granted unprecedented strength. Now we can finally... We might be able to see Dorian Brogy fight, like... I don't know. People are talking about Luffy and Zoro. That'd be cool. If Dorian Brogy fought Luffy and Zoro, I think people are going to be pissed, though. Specifically, I don't know. The whole hunting competition thing will become very relevant again. Becoming a demon is the true. No longer shall thou be bound by reason nor by common sense. Becoming a demon is truly the pinnacle of existence. So I don't know if that's saying exactly like his powers aren't bound by that, but I feel like more so mentally they're no longer bound by reason or common sense. That's my interpretation of that. Thomas Davis, thanks for bringing Yonko tier member for 25 months. Emu being here kind of makes whatever comes after unexciting. Like, I don't care about what could be in Heaven Realm anymore. Really good chapter. The Heaven Realm stuff is just bizarre, because now it's just like, what the fuck was even the point of that? I mean, I think Oda's always going to find a way to surprise. Because, like, look, at the end of the day, Emu's not being defeated here in Elbaf permanently, right? So this is, I think, to give us a taste of what Emu can do. And then I think going forward from there, we still want to see what other God's Knights can do. We still want to see what Shamrock can do, right? So I imagine the final battle of Elbaf might still involve those characters coming back. Like Shamrock and Loki, they have a fucking vendetta, right? So I feel like this is just to give us a taste of Emu first, and then it is strange that we're getting to see Emu in action first before his subordinates. I guess that's not the strangest thing, because I guess we got to see, like, it's not the strangest thing, because we got to see, like, Crocodile fight first before we saw several of the Baroque Works agents fight. We got to see Kaido fight first before we got to see, like, King and Queen fight. I think we got to see Enel. No. I don't know. It varies. It varies arc to arc, villain to villain. I generally find it more exciting to see all the subordinates' abilities first, and then you save the big bad for last. But the way Oda's doing it right now is very, very exciting, of course. Very, very exciting. I think especially because this is not literally Emu himself fighting. I imagine he's probably nerfed a little bit in Gunko's body. Let's get the streamlines up to 150 real quick. Behenot, thanks a lot. I really love both Blackbeard and Emu's power sets. One is a black hole that destroys everything. Other is the fucking Satan, different types of ultimate evil. Yeah, and then Emu is all about imposing authority and order. Like, did you see that? Like, the contrast really is beautiful, because, like, the first things out of Emu's mouth are, like, it's total polar opposites. The first things out of Emu's mouth is just, like, this land has no king. Well, that just won't do. The land needs a king. There's no such thing as a land without a king. In Emu's mind, it's like, that's an absolute. You need a sort of hierarchy. There needs to be somebody at the top, somebody ruling everything, right? Blackbeard's thing is, like, I'm going to destroy everything, just fuck up everything, bring about chaos, destroy everything. Blackbeard, I think, still wants to rule, in the sense that, like, he's kind of said things like it's going to be my era. He still puts himself at the top of the food chain, like in Hachinosu and everything like that. He still wants to be Pirate King. And even Rox's ambition was to be the king of the world. But I view it sort of differently, in the sense that, like, from Blackbeard's language and actions, it seems like Blackbeard wants to be the top dog in a world of chaos. Like, if you look at how he rules, if you look at every Yonko crew, the way that they rule kind of symbolizes their own mentality, right? Like, Big Mom, she has this giant empire that actually is pretty fucking happy on the surface. Like, people in Toddleland, they're having a fucking good time. Like, Toddleland's a fucking cool-ass place to live, right? In all of the assorted islands. It's just that they have to give up part of their soul to Big Mom in exchange for being allowed to live there. And if you read, like, chapter 900, the whole speech is like, you can all live here and be in a happy utopia where everybody's happy because I say so, because I'm going to force everyone to be happy. Like, that's Big Mom's kind of rule. And so, like, that's reflected also in her crew, where her crew, you know, it is one big happy family, but there is flaws, and there is under the surface lots of resentment and stuff that a lot of the characters have towards their mother, right? So you have Big Mom. Kaido, his whole philosophy is that survival of the fittest. So Kaido believes in hierarchy. He just believes in, like, hierarchy based on merit and strength, right? And so that's how he organizes his crew, with basically the Beast Pirates all being, you can compete for higher positions. You just have to fight whoever's stronger and defeat them, kill them, take their spot, etc. And his goal was to turn Wano into that type of country, because he was going to take it from Orochi. That was the transition point that we're kind of at. He was going to take it from Orochi and then impose that sort of system on all of Wano, right? Shanks' system is just like, everybody's my friend, I look out for my friends, I take care of the weak, the strong should protect the weak, yada, yada, yada. Shanks is boring, right? Then you got, compare Emu and Blackbeard, right? So Blackbeard is all about if you look at the way Blackbeard has Hachinosu set up, right? Hachinosu is an insight into the way that Blackbeard thinks and works, which is like, Hachinosu is a really fucking freewheeling land. People seem to be having the time of their lives in Hachinosu. There's no sense of order. Everybody's just strewn across the island. Everybody's partying, doing whatever, engaging whatever debauchery they want to do. And then at the center of it, just chilling in his throne, is Blackbeard, and he's like, this is the life, and this is like the land I created. He's still the boss, because he's not going to just be another pirate in the mix, but he wants a setup where there's like no rules, no order, nothing. And then with Emu, it's kind of just like, everyone needs to be brought to heel, everyone under strict command. I'm going to create these kings, because there's no such thing as like a land without like a strict authority top down from kings or whatever, right? So that's, I don't know, that's pretty interesting. And then you get to Luffy, obviously, and Luffy's an even more laissez-faire version of Shanks' crew, where, like, if you monitored the Straw Hats on a day-to-day basis, you would not be able to guess that Luffy's the captain. He might actually be, like, your 6th or 7th best guess as to who's captain, right? Luffy's just chilling pretty much all the time. He steps up to lead because he needs to step up to lead at certain points, because that is ultimately his responsibility. But if Luffy had it his way, like go back to way early pre-time skip, he'd just be like goofing around most of the time without really doing the hard decision making. I'm sorry about this, guys. I hate eating in front of you guys as much as you guys hate listening to me eat. Partly because I feel like it gives you guys some weird ASMR enjoyment. Anyway. Justin Holland, thanks for the 5, man. Also, congrats, you were the winner of the Voice of the People today. So I just responded to your thing in the chapter review. I believe even if Monster Trio and company show up, it may take some truly magical straw teamwork to at least score a draw and banish Emu and the Holy Knights for now. Yeah, I wonder. Let me do a quick poll, because it's very unpredictable right now. Let me ask. Is this the final battle of Elbaf? I ask this probably like close to every week, but I kind of go back and forth. Is this the final battle of Elbaf? Yes. No. There will be a rematch or something like that. I still lean towards this is like a low point for the arc. Yeah, I still lean towards this is a low point for the arc, but I feel like it's very possible that like I think there's a lot of story that still needs to be told for Elbaf, but I feel like it's possible. I think there's 3 ways that this could go down in my mind. All right, 3 ways that this could go down. Okay, I think route number 1. It's the route that I've been believing for some time, which is that, like, Elbaf will involve, it'll have a traditional arc structure where, like, we had the setup, then this is kind of the low point, then we're going to cut back to Marijua. Straw Hats and Elbaf Giants will sort of pick themselves back up and prepare for the God's Knight's second invasion to Elbaf. That's what I kind of believe for some time, okay? I still low-key lean towards that. However... Oh, you guys are pretty split. Pretty split. What is this? 2/3, 1/3. There's the other argument, which is that everything's just going down right now, and we're going to resolve everything right now. Like Loki's storyline, whatever the fuck Usopp's storyline is supposed to be, whatever the fuck Frankie and laboratory stuff is, everything's just going to be resolved right now, right? And then we probably don't, maybe Shanks shows up, who knows? Maybe no Shanks. Everything's just at the final battle right now. The tricky thing is that we were just told that Marijua is on fire, so everybody needs to get back there ASAP. So I feel like Oda kind of put a timer or time limit on the situation. So I feel like that in itself is kind of maybe what could get the protagonist out of the situation, just the fact that there's other shit going on. So maybe they can't drive away Emu and company by themselves, but like Emu and company have to leave just by necessity of like, it's time to fucking leave. So if anything, Dragon might save their ass from all the way to Marijua. So that's number 2. Like maybe sorry, I was sidetracked or whatever. Number 1 is that this is like a low point of the arc, and then we'll continue on and have a rematch at the end of the arc, right? Number 2 is everything's just going on down right now. They need to defeat Emu and company right now, right? Number 3 and this is something that people have talked about a little bit, is just like maybe the Strats are just supposed to fucking get decimated at Elbaf. Maybe the whole island's supposed to fucking go up in flames or something like that. Like they've talked about Elbaf's weakness being fire, yada yada yada. Ragnarok is supposed to probably start with the Elbaf arc, so maybe the destruction of Elbaf and the tree and everything like that leads to things just spiraling, and the Strats kind of have to pick themselves back up and head into the final war. That's a possibility. If that's the case, though, I feel like everything just happened a little fast. I don't know. Just have to wait and see. So that's 3 branching roads that I kind of see ahead. I would still lean towards the first road, but the other 2 are just as possible. Let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. Wise Life Jody, thanks for the 5. Will we see Luffy's biggest hockey blast so far in the coming chapters to counter Emu's power? Who will fight Dory and Brogy? Loki and Hadruden or Zoro and Sanji? So you know what's interesting? You just gave me a thought, which is that I wonder if... quick quiz. How were the Gorosei turned back? What effect did Joy Boy's hockey knot have on the Gorosei? What did it do to the Gorosei? Quick. What happened when Joy Boy... when Joy Boy released that? When Joy Boy's hockey came out? That's right. Detransformed. They got detransformed and sent back. I wonder if in Dory and Brogy's case, they could be detransformed. I wonder if that's what happens. I wonder if like strong enough hockey can just negate that whole situation. And who will fight Dory and Brogy, Loki and Hadruden, or Zoro and Sanji? I don't think Hadruden is strong enough to fight even normal Dory and Brogy. Like, remember, we did the scaling way back, right? Hadruden is roughly Moose level, right? Dory and Brogy are probably like Yonko Commander area on their own, naturally, right? So Hadruden fighting Dory and Brogy, I just don't think that's possible, right? I think Loki could probably still solo Dory and Brogy even in their amped up forms. Now, Zoro and Sanji versus Dory and Brogy in their amped up forms, that could be cool. I think Zoro fans would just hate it because Dory and Brogy are probably the most equal 2 characters could be in the entire story. Because, like, at least with some characters, when they fight to a draw, you could be like, well, maybe if it kept going, one of them would be the winner. But Dory and Brogy fought for 100 years, right? So they've been fighting for 100. There's no more equal matchup that you can get in the story than Dory and Brogy, outside of, like, I guess a clone fighting a clone, right? Because if you fight for 100 years, if you've just been hitting your heads against the wall for 100 years straight and nobody's been able to gain an inch, it's just, that's the most equal it can be, right? Forget Kaino Aokiji, forget Inuarashi Nekomamushi, forget all that. Dory and Brogy, that's the most dead even a matchup can ever be. It basically means they're set to be equal for all eternity, right? So I think Zoro fans would hate if Zoro and Sanji fought Dory and Brogy. Unless it was something like Zoro zero diffs Dory and Sanji goes extreme diff with Brogy, then Zoro fans would be happy. But I don't think Oda would do that. Paralyzed, thanks for the 5. What are your thoughts on the idea that Brooks Island was the victim of a hunting tournament by the Celestial Dragons? I definitely feel like that's possible. Because Brook knows about the God's Knights. He would only know that about if he went to reveries accompanying his king, or if he was at, the hunting tournaments. Either of those are good options, but I do feel like just what was the trigger for Brook and his whole kingdom, like leaving his old kingdom? Like what happened before? What were the triggers that led to Brook being a pirate? I know it was his dream, but what was holding him back? And then what really set him free that he could go do what he wanted? I think that would be really interesting if Brook's country was destroyed by the Celestial Dragons in a tournament. I also would not be surprised if God Valley was the final one of those tournaments, hunting competitions, because after that, the God's Knights were just like, yeah, we can't do this shit regularly because it's too risky. Stormfox, thanks for the 2. Agenda needs to realize this isn't even Emu's body. Agenda needs to, are people debating how strong Emu is off of this? I feel like this is just showcasing like a glimpse of Emu's magic, not even like anything crazy in terms of his fighting strength. Stormfox, thanks for the 2. Emu fighting with shotguns is so fun. That was random. That was random. I don't know how I even feel about that, because like on the one hand you got like, maybe people really like it. Maybe people really like it. I'm not huge on the shotgun thing. It just feels very random to me. But you know, we'll learn more about Emu's ability as we go. Brim, thanks for bringing a Yarnco tier member for 7 months. Hey Morge, thoughts on the playoffs? This postseason has defied everyone's expectations. Lakers lose first round and Celtics lose second round. This chapter I cannot go into basketball at all. I'm sorry, I just can't. Brim, I will talk about it later. Just, you don't have to do a special chat or anything like that. Just bring it up towards the end of the stream. I scheduled the stream to be earlier today because I knew for this chapter I just wanted it to be a longer stream. So we can talk about that later. All I could say is I fucking hate this NBA. This is my least favorite NBA playoffs of all time that I've ever watched. No question. It has not only made me stop watching. I've stopped watching the playoffs, period. I will very likely not watch the finals. And it has actually soured me so much on the NBA that I straight up may not watch. I have very little motivation to watch next season. Daniel Lavorsky, thanks for the 2. Why was Yarl's last line so raw? You know what? I only fucking read it in OP scans, but let me take a look at TCB scans too. Warriors do not know the meaning of the word run. Yeah, similar shit. Yeah, this is... Jarl is fucking cool. Who remembers the beginning of the arc? What was my opinion of Jarl at the beginning of the arc? Who remembers beginning of the arc, huh? Here, let me screen share too. We gotta switch up the character rankings a little bit. Beginning of the arc, how did I feel about Jarl? I fucking hated that dude. No, I didn't hate that dude. I just thought he's kind of shitty because he still lost to like 5-year-old Big Mom. You know, 5-year-old Big Mom scaled above Jarl. Here, we're going to bump him up. We're going to bump that dude up right now. Are we going to bump him up? Yeah, I'm going to bump up Jarl above Sommers. I'm going to go ahead and bump up Jarl above Sommers. I think I like this. I think I'm going to go back to... Knowing now that Loki probably had to kill his dad because his dad turned into, you know, one of Emu's devils. I'm going to put Loki up there. Scopper I got there. Gunko. Colin. I think I'm moving Jarl up because he's got everything at this point. He's got the comedy. He's a good dude. He's got comedy. He's got jokes. Every time Jarl's on page, you know something funny's happening. Except for right now when he's actually a badass despite being a frail old man who couldn't even defeat a 5-year-old girl 60 years ago, right? Beyond that, Sommers, Ripley. Sommers is still cool in a sense. Killingham, I'm going to bump up. Killingham's pretty cool. I think at this point, it's kind of crazy that, like, Killingham low-key is the strongest of those God's Knights. I think not in, like, a straight single fight situation, but in terms of overall effect, you're stacking, like, it's not just Emu's abilities that are crazy here. It's kind of like you stack it up, and Emu's abilities are dangerous right alongside Killingham's, but they both have, like, similar level of ability to create, like, an unstoppable army. Yeah, I'm going to keep this stuff about the same. Yeah, this all seems... I'll revisit this later. But yeah, Jarl stepped up this chapter. Great stuff. JP, thanks for the 5. If these contracts give short lifespan, but Saturn was around 200 years, can he give different contracts with different conditions? Yeah, I don't fucking know, because, like, it's kind of counterintuitive, right? Like, take lifespan but gain immortality. Take lifespan but gain immortality. I think the contracts have to be a little bit different because we know that Figarland Garling aged, right? So Garling aged, but Gunko didn't age, right? And then you see the Gorosei, who all are pretty much exactly the same as is, from God knows how long ago. So I wonder why... It's very confusing why Emu wouldn't have given that deal to Garling. Gunko might just be special for some reason or something, so it might just be the Gorosei and Gunko that have the anti-aging situation going on. But it is confusing just based on the definitions of immortality. Also, let's get the stream lights up to 200 real quick. Blazing Blue, thanks for the 10. I think Mauricio is on fire because the Celestial Dragons are rioting due to lack of food and not getting their way. Emu needs God's Knights back to legally handle it. Blackbeard becomes a king by supplying food. Blackbeard becomes a king by supplying food. I don't know if, like... I just don't know. I think this has been brought up before, maybe even by you. I don't think that the Celestial Dragons rioting is... Because, like, there's no one to riot against if you're the Celestial Dragons, right? Like, everything just goes back up to you, right? You're the ones that, like... it's kind of like, one, we don't really know how aware the Celestial Dragons are necessarily, even of Emu, but it's just like, the way the Celestial Dragons' lives work is like, they say some orders to their soldiers and stuff, and then the soldiers go out and have it done, right? There's no one to really riot against, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's themselves. There's no one to rise up against. If it's like the Celestial Dragons all decided to attack the Gorosei, you would never need God's Knights or military to put them down, because the Celestial Dragons are very weak. All it would take is, canonically, remember, Celestial Dragons can be knocked out by Conqueror's Haki, right? We already saw that in Rayleigh's debut, right? All it would take, if the Celestial Dragons that are not God's Knights decided to riot, one Gorosei could step outside, release some Conqueror's Haki, and then it's just the rebellion's over. There would never be a need for that. So I imagine it's more so some sort of raid by the revolutionaries or something like that. That's my guess, but maybe it is just, maybe it is the Celestial Dragons rioting. I just don't know how that would ever be an issue. Sampath Sakesh Revolperty, thanks a lot. Always good to see you, man. Thanks for being a Yonko team member for so long. Thanks for the 30 months of support. Yo, Morge, long time. It has been a long time. The other gods, Knights and Five Elders, seem more compared to Dorian Broggie after granting immortality. Do you think more compared to Dorian Broggie after granting immortality? Do you think Emu used different spells? I guess, like, if you mean, like, in terms of, like, keeping their mental faculties and everything like that, yeah, I do think that Emu probably used different spells. I imagine there's voluntary demonic transformations and then involuntary. And, like, Emu just turned Dorian Broggie into, like, involuntary demonic spawns, whereas the Gorosei, I think, are, like, voluntary God's Knights that elected to have this done to them. The GOAT, thanks for the 3. I'm expecting a Monster Trio double page spread. Yeah, I do think a Monster Trio double page spread is due. I mean, like, how fast can they get up there is the question. They should be sensing all this shit happening right now, right? So they should be on a boat back. I think the fact that Oda hasn't cut to them in a minute is a good sign. Akash Panda, thanks for the 5. Brogies, I feel like I can do anything I want. Seems like Luffy's first Gear 5th dialogue. Emu is giving others evil Gear 5th, a twisted version of freedom. That's an interesting point. Yeah, just the sense of power. It also reminds me of, like, when Blackbeard first picked up the Guruguru no Mi. He was like, this power coursing through me. I feel like I can do whatever I want to this world. So, yeah, it's just cool callbacks and everything like that there. Let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. And Akash, thanks for the 2. Monster Trio, now come up and not ruin tension. Can now come up and not ruin tension. Yeah, that was the tricky thing before, which is that if the Monster Trio showed up before, when it was just the other God's Knights, they would have done to them similar to what Gaban would have done to them, right? The Monster Trio coming up now is like almost a necessity for everyone to just not die. I'm very curious to see how they deal with everything happening here. Zoro and Sanji versus Dorian Broggie could be in order, and then maybe Luffy versus Gunko Emu. That could be kind of cool to see. I also wonder how Emu can use Gunko's abilities in battle. I do feel like this somewhat answered whether or not Emu used Gunko's arrows to damage Cobra, like some people are speculating. It seems like no to me, right? Because it seems like Emu has a tail that's finally established, and that's likely what was used to damage Cobra. But maybe we see something different. Rihanna Zara, thanks for the 5. Loki pulls a Pedro move to help the Straw Hats escape Emu, and then dies, and Blackbeard gets the fruit. I don't think Loki's going to die right here. I think that we need some more time with Loki. That's partly why I personally feel like we have more to go in this arc. I just think that there's more to... Loki's not in fighting condition right now, and I think it'd be disappointing for all the hype for Loki if we never actually got to see him in action at full strength. JP, thanks for the 5. Now, I don't think the crackpot theory of Emu having taken over rocks as a powerful permanent vessel is as far-fetched. There's so many possibilities. That is a possibility, too. It's just, I don't know why... Oh, shit. Like, if Rocks was defeated... I wonder if Emu body jumping is a thing over time, and, like, that's why Emu was examining... you know, the images of Luffy, Blackbeard, Lily. Like, maybe Emu always wants to pick somebody that he can take the body of. That would be very interesting. That'd be very interesting. Akash Panda, thanks for the 5. Under Dami Reversi, when Dorian Broggie flip, the giants between them also flip, just like the real game reversal. Oh, shit. And you sent me a YouTube link. I'm probably not going to watch this on stream just because of, I don't know, potential copyright. Okay. How to play reversal. Oh, it looks kind of like the game Go. and then you can flip all the tiles or something like that, it looks like. That's interesting. Interesting. That's pretty cool. Oda always has the funniest references for a lot of his moves and attacks. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 250 real quick. Dealer Joyboy, thanks for the 5. Damn, I haven't watched Morge in so long. I checked back in and he looks like Kuzan at home. The hair's going. The hair's going. I think I tried to stick it out a little bit long because I was like, wait, maybe it's working, but now I'm back to it not working. Tio Pucho, thanks a lot. What if Emu needs to reincarnate into a new vessel? Now he's in Rox's body and now chose Vivi as a successor after discarding Luffy and Blackbeard. Interesting. So he's been body hopping for some time. That could be really cool. And maybe that's why Rox disappeared forever. That could be really, really, really cool. Maybe he's been in Lily's body this whole time still, like people have speculated. Shit, that would be really cool, especially if that's like something just that's a part of the immortality surgery or something, like a catch to it. JWP, thanks for the 10. This chapter was insane. Thanks for coming through as usual, man, with the support. I think this is the first time I've ever seen the brief spoilers from Pew and legit didn't believe it. Do you think Emu has a fruit or what? I also saw the brief spoilers online. Look like literal fan fiction. It looks like some shit that somebody would just make up and write into One Piece, but it's fucking real. Like this chapter is just unprecedented in One Piece. Do you think Emu has a fruit or what? Yeah, watch out for next Tuesday's video. I think we've got a good and JWP, thanks for the 5 memberships. I'm glad you enjoyed the chapter, man. Thanks for the support as always. Everybody in chat, just say thanks to JWP. He's always coming through with these memberships, man, especially when the chapter's really hype. K Maya, Colin MC, A Christian Weeb, Jordan Vance, Andrew Baker. Everyone just say thanks to JWP as usual, man. Thanks a lot for coming through with the support. What was I saying? Do you think Emu has a fruit? Yeah. Watch out for next Tuesday's video. Next Tuesday's video, I will. It elaborates quite a bit. I think that we've gotten a lot of clues as to what Emu's ability is. I think Oda's actually mentioned it in the story before. So at this point, we just gotta. Oda could totally flip my expectations on their head by next chapter, but at this moment, I think that there's a solid chance that the theory that's coming out on Tuesday does explain it really well. Behenort, thanks a lot. To add what I said, if Emu created the devil fruits or has a devil fruit, then he not only created the political system but also the power system, similar to how Blackbeard breaks devil fruit order and rules. So I think that I'm along the same lines of thinking as you are in some sense, but I don't think that Emu's fruit came first. That's the thing. I actually think that Emu's fruit may have been one of the final, if not the final, devil fruits created. But watch next Tuesday's video, and you get more details to why I'm thinking that. I don't want to go into too much detail right now. Just wait for the video. Just wait for the video, and it'll break stuff down pretty well. Apple Killer 2308, thanks for the 5. Chapter 222, Usopp talked about beating 10 giant creatures. This chapter shows 10 giants. Could this be a lie coming true? So, I think that, here's the thing. I think people latch on a lot to, like, to Usopp's claims and say that, like, because he said this or that, we're gonna get, like, this lie is gonna come true. I think there's a lot of lies in the story that Usopp lies a lot. I think there's a lot of lies in the story that don't actually come true. I think that people just latch on to the ones that do come true and then believe it's the rule for everything. So I'm not going to say that. I also remember, if you remember in Onigashima, when the numbers were introduced, then people were like, whoa, Usopp once said that he defeated like 10 giant creatures or whatever, and now these I think there's 10 numbers or 9 numbers, I forget, but like then the numbers were introduced and it was like, oh my god, these are Usopp's opponents for Onigashima or whatever. That was a common belief, and then nothing happened there. So I think it's totally possible. I'm just not gonna. I try not to assume that everything Usopp lies about is gonna become true, just because there's inconsistencies with that. I still really hope and believe that this is going to be an important Usopp arc. Usopp could also be referring to some of the Killing Him monsters, you know? Julian02, welcome to the Yonko. Thanks for joining. Definitely make sure to check out the weekly podcasts that come out, where I elaborate on my thoughts from each of the week's videos. So, yeah, just watch out for next Tuesdays. Julian Criswell, thanks for the 2. Did Sommer's arm regenerate, or was it a new Rose arm? I think he might have been able to regenerate. I think maybe Emu was able to help him out there. That's my thought. Akash Panda, thanks for the 5, man. Follow up to my previous super. What if Emu is the Nika from the first world who got corrupted? Oh, shit. That's an interesting idea. Oh, shit. Why'd this just cut out for a second? Because, like, there's even, even among the giants, right? If you look at the giants who all have their theories as to what Nika is, some of them are like he's a liberator, then some are like he's a destroyer, and then some people are like, no, he's a ruler, right? Because Roto is the giant that seems to believe that Emu's a ruler, and like I think lots of times the beginning parts of arcs foreshadow future parts of the arc, right? And so we open with Roto ruling over this Legoland that he created, right? And Roto's posing as the sun god, and he's saying, I'm the sun god, and everybody worships me, and, he rules over the land and everything like that, right? Maybe that's foreshadowing a little bit of the truth about Emu. But, yeah, that's really cool. The problem is that, like, Emu being the Nika from the first world, as far as we know, there's only one devil fruit of each type, so, like, how would the fruit have been passed on? I don't know. The Final Storm, thanks for the 5. Could it be how Teach levels up his crew? End of story. Could be how Teach levels up his crew? End of story. Yeah, because Blackbeard's crews... They need some help. Somebody help those guys out. Also, regeneration seems to be like suspend points / save states in current retro gaming, hence Brogy's wrist. I don't really know what that means. I kind of get what that means, I guess, but yeah, I kind of get what that means. You're saying like it's frozen in that state and then regen. I guess I don't fully get what that means, but yeah, I definitely I wonder if this will, like, people still speculate that Blackbeard might take Emu's fruit at the end of the day. So that's always in the realm of possibility. I'm still on the train of Blackbeard will take Loki's fruit. I just think there's a lot more parallels and connections going on there. And I think Blackbeard and Emu are ultimately supposed to represent two different types of villains that both need to be defeated at the end of the story. So I don't know if Blackbeard's going to take Emu's fruit, but it would be a route to upgrading his crew, because his crew are bums. Canute Worgen, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 11 months, man. It would be great to get an early confrontation between Luffy and Emu for a clash of ideals. Also, now that Chopper's in the underworld, he can give Loki those drugs Zoro took during Onigashima. Great fucking point. Great point. I did not think about that. I did not read the second half of your super, Akash Bandit. Sorry, hold on. Let me get that in a second. That's a great point, man. That's a really great point. Because I want to see Loki fight, and that drug would be the one way to really do it. That would be phenomenal. If we got to see Loki in action through that, that would be really, really, really fucking cool. Maybe Loki does take on Dorian Brogy. I did not think about that. And I do think it is important for Luffy and Emu to meet. That was one of my worries for Luffy and Emu eventually having a showdown towards the end of the story, which was just like, well, they would never have... Because Emu's up in Marishua, so they wouldn't have had a chance to interact up to that point. But this is a great opportunity, having Luffy meet an avatar of Emu or something like that. I don't think Luffy interacting with the villain beforehand is necessary always. I just think that it builds up a greater connection between the two over time. Like Luffy and Crocodile, that became really personal over time, right? Like even like Luffy Lucci and stuff. Whereas like Luffy and Enel, Luffy kind of just ran into Enel. It was like, who the fuck are you? I'm going to kick your ass. Which was still cool, like the shock factor that it led to for Enel. But... yeah, I think Luffy meeting Emu here would be... I think Emu's an important enough villain that meeting him beforehand feels right to me. Akash Panda, second part of the super was maybe Emu, if Emu is a corrupted version of Nika, maybe Emu created the Devil Fruits in the second world with his powers. I think that's possible. Again, like, if you watch this Tuesday's video, I think it's a little bit of... I think it kind of went in reverse, but it might make sense once you watch the video. But I do think that part of Emu's ability seems to clearly be the ability to create, like, devil-type beings, right? I don't think Emu is the creator of all devil fruits, but I do think it's tied to that concept. So watch out. Yeah, just watch out for next Tuesday's video. Henchme976, thanks for being a Yarn Coach here, remember, for 2 months. Good chapter, though the pacing for the arc is starting to drag on for me. Anyways, I have a job interview literally, so so peace, everyone. Hey, good luck on your job interview, man. I don't think the pacing of the arc is dragging for me at all. I think, like, the arc is really fucking exciting. Like, we are now 25 chapters into Elbaf, and we've got one of the coolest mid-battle setups ever. in One Piece. Like, this is pretty fucking insane. Like, Oda keeps raising the stakes. So I don't really know about like the pace being slow. I think maybe because Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji aren't part of the mix right now, and people kind of want to see them in the action. I think that's what people are really itching to see, because all of the stuff Oda is doing is all well and good, really setting the tension, the tone, the stakes, and everything. But you kind of need to see it against the characters that matter. You need to see them being involved for it to really hit home, and kind of see how they have to deal with it, you know? Rashid B, thanks for the 2. Look at chapter 536, page 5. It references demons. I think I can already guess what chapter you're referring to. I feel like you're referring to probably like the Impel Down chapter where it talks about like demons taking people from Impel Down, right? So that is a thing that people believe in One Piece. So I know what you're talking about. I think that there are past references to this sort of thing in One Piece that play into what Emu's true ability is. So again, just watch out for this Tuesday's video, because I think it's a good one. Drink water, peg D's leg. Thanks for the 2. Mosa, where are you? Gunko is Mosa died down. Yeah, God. Man, Mosa's not showing up. If Mosa was telling Loki how scared Mosa was in that other conversation, so I don't think Mosa's trying to show up anytime soon. Thanks for, oh shit. Maybe Mosa's up at Marijua right now, and because whatever the fuck is happening in Marijua is scaring the shit out of Mosa. Mosa's such a fucking ridiculous name. Maybe whatever's happening up in Marijua is scaring the fuck out of Mosa at the moment, and that segues into like literally a few hours later, probably an hour or so later, who knows how fast this whole thing went, this situation going down. 1 second. Blazing Blue, check the background of the last page. Emu turned Killingham nightmares into demons too. I find that super interesting, and also demon moms, lol. Oh, shit. Did he turn them into night? Yeah, I guess because the eyes indicate that. Yeah, so now they're even stronger, which is kind of ridiculous because they're having no trouble fucking up all of Elbaf beforehand. That is pretty insane. This is just such a sick spread. So Emu's powers are just like fucking busted. Like, I don't even, like, the armies that he's able to create, I think I mentioned this in the chapter review, but I just think it's really funny. Like, you know how long Kaido, Doflamingo, and Caesar worked on building that giant army of, like, that army of, like, half-assed, like, oh, these guys are, like, almost Zoan users. Like, almost, not even, like, crazy, super powerful Zoan users. It's like, that guy almost has a lion fruit. Like, it's like a bad version of a lion fruit. Literally, like, years working on that project to create an army of, like, 10% of them almost have a normal devil fruit, right? In the span of an hour, Emu and the God's Knights have created an army that is 100 times better than Kaido's army. That would fucking piss me off if I was Kaido. That would suck. It's a good thing Kaido's passed away, because if he knew what his army would have to actually deal with a defeat to become king of the world or whatever, you'd probably flip the table. So you'd be so fucking mad. It'd be like, I've put in so much time, money, and resources to die. Here's my army of 10% gifters. And then Killingham just shows up and shits out basically like the most powerful army in existence. And then Emu shows up right after that and amps that whole army up 10x. The Kaido would be like, what the fuck did I spend all this money for? What was the point of all this? He'd probably go beat Doflamingo's ass, that's for sure. Probably fucking abusive ass, like, beatdown or something like that. Like, you fucking took my money. He told me this could make me king of the world. The fuck do you do with all my money? Where we at? Drink water. No, we covered this. Oh no, drink water. Peg D's leg. Thanks for the 10. I think strong enough will can resist the contract. The same way Jinbei let Big Mom take his lifespan, but couldn't. Right? Brogy got his arm shot off, so at that moment of shock, Emu forced the contract on him. I think that's definitely possible. Like, I don't think Emu can just do this to anybody. I don't want to, like, short Dory and Brogy because they're pretty strong-willed characters themselves. They're not exactly, like, high-level hockey users from what we've seen, though. But, you know, I imagine Dory and Brogy are pretty strong themselves. I feel like Emu's ability is probably a lot stronger than Big Mom's ability when it comes to creating these contracts. It also kind of sets in this fear that, like, fuck, like, good guy characters that we know could be turned this way, which would be kind of insane. Like, imagine if Emu just... Fuck, imagine if, like, Admirals are forced into this or something like that. That would be fucking crazy. Fuck. Like, what if fucking what if Emu does this to fucking Holy shit, I didn't even think about this. Like, Emu could do this to other characters, right? Like, if it really comes down to this, Emu's just like, I'm gonna nuke the world. And Kainu and the Admirals are like, we don't want to do that. We're leaving. And then Emu's like, nice try. I can't imagine Emu doing that to Akainu. That would rob him of his agency as a villain. That would be kind of sad. But, fuck, man, like, it's possible. I don't know. It's interesting to think about. Magnus! Is this what the fuck? Magnus, thanks for being a Yonko tier member. Thanks for joining the Yonko. Is this Magnus I think I'm allowed to say this. I think we've discussed this before. Is this Magnus Magnus is the image finder of this channel. He's the person who gets all the images for the videos. So, thanks for the support, man. You didn't have to, but I appreciate it. I don't know if this is you, Magnus. Magnus, you want to say something if it's you or not? JK Kane, thanks for the 2. Loki fruit revealed, about to go crazy as fuck. Loki fruit reveal, about to go crazy as fuck. I think it'd be really badass if Chopper gives Loki that drug, and then Loki just busts onto the scene and, like, fucks up this whole army or something like that. I think that would be fucking awesome. The Question, thanks a lot. My favorite page, especially after the Giants of Elbaf thought that Loki's, like, the problem that needs to be dealt with. When in actuality, Loki probably had to fucking kill his dad that got turned into these demons, right? I think Loki's name is going to be cleared in a good way pretty soon. My favorite, the Question says, my favorite page of the chapter was the one with the Straughts in distress, even Jinbei screaming. Will they all get their 1v1 by the end of Elbaf? Yeah, I think that, will they get their 1v1 in Elbaf? I think Elbaf is a crazy difficult arc to predict at this point. Because again, Oda usually, like, the pattern I broke down in past videos is, how do I say this? Oda doesn't generally like to do 1v1s for most of the crew outside of Luffy and Zoro in story arcs that are not saga finales, you know? Like, if it's not the finale of a saga, Oda generally doesn't give everyone 1v1s. You know what I'm saying? So, obviously, we're in the final saga, so Oda might break his rules here. Like, or not his rules, not hard and fast rules. He might break his patterns, I suppose. It depends how big of an arc Elbaf is set to be. It's interesting here that Elbaf, we're able to get a lot of sort of makeshift enemies, right? So, like, the Killingham monsters are makeshift temporary enemies. And then on top of that, like, the Emu is able to create a lot of makeshift temporary enemies, right? So it creates an avenue where a lot of characters can get 1v1s without having to defeat, like, too many of the God's Knights. Because the God's Knights, I believe, have to generally remain intact heading into the final war, right? So this is a method through which, like, maybe the only God's Knights that are defeated in the, by the end of this arc are, like, Sommers, Gunko turned back to normal, and Killingham, and then maybe a lot of these Killingham monsters, giant warrior pirates, stuff like that. Because if I were to quickly spitball, right? If people are supposed to get 1v1s over the course of this arc, maybe it is Zoro and Sanji versus, like, amped up Dory and Brogy, right? So maybe that's something that happens. Maybe it is, I think Usopp versus Killingham is a great matchup. I think Brook with music or something turning Gunko back could be really good. I feel like Brook and somebody else would be good in that scenario. I think Sommers getting Robin getting a run back against Sommers, but, like, maybe with an assistance, like maybe fucking Chopper or something. Imagine Robin and Chopper taking down Sommers, even without Haki, if Chopper is able to figure out a way to stop Regeneration without Haki. I think that would be really cool. Magnus is saying that was him. I think this is the first time I've caught a stream. since I started doing this, so I figured I'd show support. It's all good, man. Thanks for coming through. You show support by helping make the videos as good as they are, so I appreciate that. Don't worry about that. Everyone just say shouts in chat for Magnus, because Magnus is he's the image finder for the videos. And it has been phenomenal at the job for the last, I want to say 2021? Last 4 years. It's a long time. What was I saying before this? Yeah, maybe Robin and Chopper versus Sommers. If Chopper is able to figure out a method to help deal with the regeneration, that could be really cool. And then, yeah, I think that gives a lot of the Strahds fights. Other Strahds can get fights against maybe some of the giant monsters that are created. That's just a thought. I don't know. That's just a thought. I don't know if that's going to be how things play out here. But there is, like, Elbaf has the advantage of being able to generate a lot of really powerful enemies without having to sacrifice endgame opponents, if that makes sense. Like, God's Knights, like, Oda doesn't have to send all the God's Knights to Elbaf to give all the Strahds 1v1s. Akash Panda, thanks for the 2. If Emu's final villain, low point for Saga, not just arc. That's very possible. That's very possible. Again, I see, like, 3 branching paths. This could be... this could be just a setup where, like, everyone's just supposed to lose an Elbaf or something like that. The Final Storm, thanks for the... well, I'll just finish Akash Panda's other super real quick because it's kind of a follow-up. It is not the arc midpoint until Loki's backstory. I do think Loki's backstory is really fucking important to get here. But if Loki comes out gun swinging or whatever, drugged up on Chopper's shit, maybe we get Loki's backstory a lot sooner than we expected. The Final Storm, thanks for the 5. Imagine certain characters in Sword, Strahds, etc. get Dami reversied, and when they eventually turn back, they retain some power boosts like Black Clover. This chapter did have Black Clover vibes. I'm not really reading the Black Clover final arc because I want it all to play out, and it's going on a snail's pace because of, I think, like, monthly release or 2 months, every 2 months or something like that. But I read the beginning of the arc, so I know what you're talking about. Yeah, there's just so much potential now that Emu has the ability to turn characters who are already really strong but on the good guy's side into bad guy characters. Like, that's really, really fucking cool. And consider... shit. The fucking implications for this are insane. Because now it's like... we could get, like, evil Shanks. Not in the sense of, like, Garling or Shamrock evil Shanks, but literally Shanks himself could be turned into evil Shanks. Or, if you want, like, Zoro versus Mihawk in a really climactic manner or something, maybe Emu fucking turns Mihawk or something like that. Like, there's so many things that could be done now that we know that Emu can turn people into his servants. It wouldn't just be Mihawk, it would be, like, a souped-up, like, super version of Mihawk. That'd be fucking insane. DW Crow, thanks for the 2. Whatever happened to the Wano analysis? It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Don't worry about it. Virgil Hawkins, thanks for being a Pirate King to your member for 32 months, man. Thanks for the long time support. This chapter reminded me of Ying Yo-Yo from Shaolin Showdown. I fucking forgot about Shaolin Showdown. That show was the shit. That show was... it had a satisfying ending. It had Chase Young, which is one of the coolest antagonists for a kids show. Shaolin Showdown was a very, very kiddie show. You know, there's, like, levels to how kiddie a show is. So, like, Shaolin Showdown is a very kiddie show, but then something like Ben 10 is, like, a bit more, you know, like, bit more developed of a show, right? Like, probably skews a little older. And then Avatar: The Last Airbender really is all ages, you know? For, like, a very kiddie show, Shaolin Showdown, Chase Young, phenomenal villain. Phenomenal villain. Read Witch Hat Atelier to see the possibilities of what manga can be. Flawless and stylized art, innovative paneling, and beautiful magic system. People recommend this to me multiple times. I'll try and read it for real. I've got it up. I'll try and read it for real. People have maybe you've been recommending it to me for some time. Yeah, the Ying Yo-Yo turns people into the evil version of themselves. I just remember Shaolin Showdown had a lot of, like, oh no, he turned to the Halen side, right? Like, it's the good guy side and then the Halen side, right? Like, and every single season would end with good guy characters being transferred over to the bad guy side, and then they got to be dealt with. Literally season 1, I think like Raimundo transfers over, but he doesn't actually become evil. He just makes mistakes and frees Wuya, which was fucking insane that they fucking forgave him after that. It was like, Raimundo, you basically destroyed the entire world and released like he basically released uh like a, he basically released Emu onto the world at the end of season 1. Who remembers that at the end of season 1 of Shaolin Showdown? Raimundo basically releases Emu into the world because like his friends were mean to him, or like he doesn't get a promotion or something like that. No, you know what fucking happened? I'm sorry, I'm just going down a memory trail. This was so stupid. Raimundo fucks up. He's like impulsive or something, and he fucks up, and like with that warrior Mala Mala Jong or something. So first, I think he causes Mala Mala Jong to fucking wreck shit, and then everyone's like, Raimundo, you fucked up. So I think he doesn't get a promotion or something like that. And he's like, this is BS. They can't do this to me, even though I fucked up. Fuck you guys. I'm gonna release Emu, basically like Shaolin Showdown Hitler, onto the world, and then the world is completely fucked up. And then Raimundo's like, you know what? I don't like the world being fucked up because, like, I don't have any friends now. And so then he helps seal Wuya again, and everyone's like, Raimundo, let this be a like they do like, you know, like a kids WB Cartoon Network lesson, which is like, Raimundo, this should help you learn to just be better at like not causing the world apocalypse or something. Like, don't be betraying us or whatever. Don't be fucking causing the world to fall into hell or anything like that. And he's like, I get it, guys. I learned a lesson here. And then at the end of the story, Raimundo's fucking promoted above the rest of them to be like the new leader of the group. And I'm like, no, this is fucked up. He did not show enough growth. 2 seasons ago, he released Shaolin Showdown Hitler onto the entire planet because his ego got bruised for his own fuck up from before. This guy's not shown enough growth. I don't believe that's the case. End of season 2, Omi got turned evil. And then end of season 3, I forget, like, people got Chase Young was good in a flashback, but Master Monk Guan got turned evil, and then Chase Young also got turned evil. I remember so much of Shaolin Showdown. Enough about this. Yeah, enough about this. All right, continuing on. Virgil Hawkins says exactly he learned the lesson. Most people fucking go to jail for the rest of their lives for what Raimundo did. They go to jail. He should be kicked out of the whole monk training program for what he did. He fucking like he destroyed the world because he was salty about them punishing him for his first fuck up in the first place. It's not like, he learned from his mistakes, so now let's make him the leader of the whole group. It's like, he shouldn't even fucking be in this program anymore. Like, this is not like that one time where Usopp was like, I got the money stolen, I feel really shitty about this, so I'm quitting the crew, and then he had to apologize to come back or whatever. This is more like if Usopp released, imagine if Emu was sealed, and then Usopp got upset because of the Mary or something like that, and then Usopp released Emu back onto the world, and then Emu basically destroyed the world. And then after that, they're like, Usopp, did you learn your lesson not to do bad things? And Usopp's like, yeah. And then like 2 arcs later, they made Usopp the captain of the crew. That's what that would be like. Anyway, enough Shaolin Showdown talk. Okay, Treble Leakum, thanks for the 5. What if all the major bridges like Tequila Wolf is for one massive... Oh! Whoa! Treble Leakum, thanks for the 5. Hold on. This is big stuff. Let's get the streamlines up to 300 real quick. All the major bridges are for one massive pentagram. Holy shit. Who's watched Full Metal Alchemist? I wonder if Oda's watched Full Metal Alchemist. I feel like Oda's been watching his Full Metal Alchemist. Holy fuck, that would be insane. Something to like activate Emu's final form or ability or something like that. That would be fucking insane. The Final Storm, thanks for the 5. You know how, that's a really fucking cool idea. It's just that I don't think it takes the shape of a pentagram, but it might, because we don't really know what it looks like just yet, right? Like, it's in all 4 blues. The blues are basically kind of... The way the blues work, it's like... We'd have to look at the map. That's a very interesting idea. The final storm, thanks to the 5. You know how crazy, toxic for some people, it would be if Emu flips Sanji or Zoro at some point in the final saga, and this is how we get Zoro versus Sanji? I think I would really dislike that. I think most readers would dislike that as well. I mean, I think most readers would dislike that because, like, I think if what would have to happen is, like, Sanji would have to get flipped and then Zoro would fight him, right? Because if Zoro gets flipped, I feel like Sanji would just lose. If Sanji gets flipped and then Zoro fights him, I think both sides are upset because, like, Sanji fans would be upset that, like, even an amped version of Sanji is now Zoro's opponent or something like that. And then Zoro fans would be upset because, like, they would probably want, in their minds, a cooler opponent than Sanji for Zoro, if that makes sense. Because Zoro fans think very little of Sanji. So I think that's just a lose-lose situation. I could see them both fighting Dory and Brogy here. But if they both fight Dory and Brogy here, I think Sanji fans would be very happy with that. They'd be like, we both equals. Zoro and Sanji, the equal duo, fighting the equal duo of Dory and Brogy. Exactly as equals would do. And Zoro fans would be fucking malding like, why the fuck Zoro should be fighting Dory and Brogy solo while Sanji fights, I don't know, like Giant Warrior Pirate number 6 or something like that. Like, I think I can see Zoro and Sanji fighting Dory and Brogy here. I just cannot imagine Zoro fans being happy about it. Unless Zoro, unless Zoro fights like very low diff or something and Sanji struggles more or something. I don't know. Behenor, thanks a lot. Next chapter cliffhanger, Emu and Luffy staring at each other, followed by their first ever clash. My guess is Emu low mid diffs and leaves for Marishua. I just, it's curious. I felt for a long time that, like, if Luffy just, like, Luffy showing up to fuck up Emu at the end should feel very cathartic, I feel. I really wonder if Emu's supposed to defeat Luffy once before that happens. It would be really cool to see Luffy interact with Emu because, you know, like, we take for granted a lot of the time that, like, Luffy just, how little Luffy really knows about the world. But, like, this whole concept, like, Luffy's understanding of the entire world is just so small because he really just thinks about, like, okay, I need to defeat the 4 emperors and become Pirate King. Like, that's pretty much all that really processes for him. He knows about admirals, and he knows that's a problem. He knows about celestial dragons, because he's like, fuck those guys. And now he really knows about the Gorosei. But for Luffy to, like, his whole journey has been fixated on the simplistic concept of, like, find the One Piece, become Pirate King. My competition is really just other pirate emperors, right? That's how Luffy thinks. For Luffy to run into a character that is the god emperor of the entire world, the secret god emperor ruler of the entire world, and has ruled the entire world for 800 years, and is like the secret big bad behind everything, right? That is almost, to me, that's like almost expanding Luffy's brain like 50 sizes. Like, it would, like, I'm sure Luffy won't even care that much, but it's just so, like, think about all the levels Luffy doesn't even know. Like, Luffy, I don't think Luffy knows about the Will of D in general. I don't think Luffy knows about the Void Century or how long the world government's been going on or any of that shit. I don't think Luffy knows almost anything compared to, like, what other characters like revolutionaries and stuff like that know, or the reader knows, right? So for Luffy, just fighting the Gorosei, I would have to go back and reread his dialogue against the Gorosei, but, like, for him, that's just general confusion. Like, who the fuck are these guys, right? Like, what the fuck? Like, okay, you guys are higher ups of the world government. That's all I know. But the whole concept of, like, this secret devil, like, that rules everything or whatever, that must be mind-blowing for Luffy, right? Like, even I'm very curious to see his reactions here because, like, that would just, like, his whole concept of, like, well, I want to be Pirate King because Pirate King is, like, the freest man on the seas. How is he going to feel about that? Because in Luffy's mind, Pirate King is, like, number 1. That's, like, the highest thing that you can become on the ocean. How would he feel about that once he learns about this dude's existence? Like, this dude that just, like, rules everything, including the ocean, and is above all pirates, clearly. I think that'd be very interesting. Andrew Anderson, thanks for the 5. I wonder if the Heaven Realm has something Joy Boy related that would counteract Emu in the final war. That's an interesting idea, but I feel like I would. The thing that we've already seen is that strong enough Haki seems to be able to counter Emu. Like it. Now that we know more about Emu's abilities, right? We could see some things, right? Which is that Joy Boy's Haki can basically negate things like Emu summoning characters to places through the abyss. He can send the Gorosei home. Joy Boy's Haki can also like negate Emu's devil transformations because he undid the Gorosei's devil transformations. Joy Boy's Haki is likely a lot stronger than Emu's Haki because Joy Boy's Haki made Emu shit himself in fear, right? So I think a lot of I don't know if there's like a secret just method to defeating Emu. I think you just need to be strong enough, you know? I think that's kind of what we saw. JWP, thanks for the 5. I doubt Kizaru has the will to resist Emu. Imagine a devil amped Kizaru, lol. Yeah, and the cool thing, like, I feel like before people get into, like, whether or not Kizaru has the will or whatever, let's say Kizaru is sad now, so maybe he doesn't have the will to disobey Emu. Actually, honestly, it's irrelevant whether or not Kizaru's sad or not. That's actually always been in line with Kizaru's character, which is that he's a bear. Like, he's obedient. He's a follower, right? That's actually the whole crux of his character arc in Egghead. Even someone like Sentomaru, who's a lot weaker than Kizaru, has a stronger will to do his own thing than Kizaru does. So Kizaru would actually be very, very easy pickings for Emu. That's not a commentary on how strong Kizaru is. Don't want to get into that whole thing. I'm just saying, like, in terms of character, Kizaru has always been a rule follower, dutiful, obedient servant. He will even, like, he can't even resist when it comes to killing his own best friend, right? Like, he can't even bring himself to resist when it comes to that, you know? So Kizaru would be very easy pickings for Emu. Because if you're not even going to, like, when your own, like, personal feelings and emotions are on the line and are pushing you to not follow orders, but you just follow the orders anyway, then what's going to happen when, like, God himself reaches into your soul and just fucks with it and turns you into a devil, right? Like, that's just, like, if you didn't have the will to just follow general directives or whatever, how are you going to stop from following, like, literal black magic that's coercing you into doing things, you know? JWP, thanks for the 5. Oh no, we covered this. Sorry. Dick so small, I piss on my balls. Sorry, I'm getting things out of order. Where we at? What the fuck? Dick so small, I piss on my balls. Thanks for the 5. It's poetic how the giants are forced into being monsters after they made Loki out into a monster before he even actually deserved it. Yeah, let's see who the bad guys are now. Fuck you guys. Loki was probably having to stop Harold, who had turned into a monster like Dorian Broggie. Although, to be very fair, it does sound like Loki was kind of a giant asshole even before that whole Harold stuff went down, so... Didn't he, like... I gotta read the chapter again. Didn't he, like, burn down a village or some shit? Just for fun when he was young? And he also bullied the fuck out of Hadruden. He also, I don't know, like, I think Loki might have also just been an asshole, to be fair. Patrick Malone, that, like, it's possible, it would be really funny is if, like, Loki's whole name gets cleared and everything, they're like, oh, we understand now. You didn't kill Harold because, like, you're evil. You killed Harold because Harold got turned into a demon, right? And Loki's like, yeah, exactly. And they're like, all right, well, your name's cleared for that. But we we honestly still just really had a better life while you were locked up. So maybe we might just keep that going. Like, even though you might be innocent on account of that, Elbaf in general has been a lot more peaceful while you were tied up to that tree. So we might just make that a thing. We might just make that a permanent situation regardless of innocence or guilt. I don't know. Patrick Malone, thanks to the 5. Thoughts on demon giants looking like ancient giants? So that's an interesting concept, which is like, what if all the ancient giants were once forced into doing Emu's bidding? That is a very, very interesting concept, especially because the ancient giants are apparently a lot more violent. I never thought about that. Like, if that just is the origin of ancient giants, that'd be really fucking cool. And then, like, Onis, which are likely crosses between ancient giants and humans or something like that. What if Oni, like, they're called demons, it's in line, like, a reference to what ancient giants kind of are. That's a really, really cool concept. Oh, fuck, and Onigashima. Fuck. Onigashima. I wonder if that's like a gigantic creation by Emu now. Holy shit. Think about that. If Onigashima was something that was created by Emu somehow. Man, there's so... Oh my god. One Piece lore is so fucking interesting. It's insane. It's so interesting. There's just so much shit to be put together here. Fading Phase, thanks for the 5. Roger and his crew really inspiring a whole generation to find the One Piece knowing Satan is out here. Bone is my favorite series from my childhood. Bone is also, you know what, the Lord of the Locusts. Similar shit in Bone. And Bone is probably my favorite, like, before I knew manga or anything, because I read manga later in life. I found One Piece, which was the anime, but Bone was really the comic that I really loved the most when I was younger. Bone is a phenomenal story. I recommend Bone to any One Piece fans, because, like, I think there's a lot of overlap, a lot of the same strengths, and a lot of similar tone and things like that. Count Dogula, thanks for the 5. Usopp versus Killingham foreshadowed by Perona. His greatest fear will just be a version of himself that sucks, forcing a 1v1 with Killingham. Yeah, and Killingham even, I strongly believe that Usopp versus Killingham is likely, especially because last chapter it was revealed that Killingham is also a marksman. Killingham uses a bow and arrow. The matchup is right there, because I feel like against Killingham, I think the creations, Killingham won't be able to abuse the creations as much against Usopp, because the nightmare holes won't be as effective against Usopp, I don't believe. Similar to Perona reasons. Also, there's a shit ton of foreshadowing from Thriller Bark for Elbaf. It's interesting because, like, Thriller Bark, in retrospect, it's so fucking cool to think about. Thriller Bark, in retrospect, had significant foreshadowing for Whole Cake Island. Think about this. Thriller Bark, as an arc, had strong references to the future storylines of Whole Cake Island, Wano, and Elbaf, right? Because Whole Cake Island, you've got the wedding plotline. Moria's ability is like the fucking counterpart or inverse to Big Mom's ability, like an island made out of zombies, island made out of homies. Like, very, very similar shit there. So a lot of Whole Cake Island parallels in that sense, right? But then in Wano, that's where, like, Samurai Ryuma is introduced, Shisui is introduced, right? You've got Kaido being referenced, like Moria was once defeated by Kaido in the New World. A lot of references there to the story of Wano, right? And then in with Elbaf, you've got ancient giants being introduced in Thriller Bark, right? You've got the idea of, like, fighting nightmares and nightmare creatures being introduced in Thriller Bark. Just a lot of reference, and then even potentially the Usopp Perona fight being similar to the Usopp Killingham fight. Maybe that's something that Oda pulled from his future storyline of Elbaf. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Oda had those storylines thought out to some degree, and then, like, he's coming up with a Thriller Bark storyline and is pulling bits and pieces from those future storylines to flesh out the Thriller Bark storyline. Drink water, Peg D's leg. Thanks for the 10. What are the odds that after Luffy confronts Emu, she dips and teleports the giants to Holy Land for additional military force? We could go into training arc for raiding Holy Land, Marineford 2.0. That could be really fucking cool. That could be really, really fucking cool if that's what leads to the trigger for launching a war against Marijua. The thing is, Marijua is so far away, and I don't know if the Strauts would deviate from their course to Laugh Tale at this point. I think it's more likely that they come back to Elbaf with that force at this point for the final battle of Elbaf, rather than the Strauts going to Marijua right away. That's my thought. But I do think that I don't feel like the battles or the whole arc is going to come to a close here. I think if Emu and them have to leave, it will be because of the distractions going on in Marijua. Jude, thanks for the 3. Brook times Luffy versus Gunko. Soul King amplify Nika heartbeat. Oh, Brook amplifying Nika's heartbeat could really be cool. And I also think Brook just bringing Gunko's true self out is a very, very strong possibility to rebel against Emu. Because, again, just the idea that music moves the soul. We saw Brook's effect on Big Mom's chess pieces. We saw Brook had an effect on Gunko without even playing music. So I think that is very, very likely for this storyline. Justin Holland, thanks for the 5, man. Maybe during training, Heaven World will help the Strauts level up in both strength and spirit, essentially in regards to Luffy and the Nika legacy. Also, Heaven World being a sort of, like, training realm, that could be a really fucking cool idea. I never considered that. Like, if Heaven World just has a lot of, I don't know what it would have. Maybe time goes slower in Heaven Realm, because people talked about how Elbaf time could sometimes move slower. Maybe it's only in Heaven Realm or something. Marcel Beans, thanks for the 2. You skipped my PS question in the latest Pirate King podcast. Oh, shit. I'm sorry, man. Let me take a quick look. See if I can find that real quick. Sorry, if it was a PS question, it's possible I might have missed that. Also, Pirate King podcast. Hold on. 1 second. We should start the fuck. Oh shit, we should have already had this up. The Pirate King podcast submissions. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, we should have had the Pirate King podcast submissions already up. Let me see if I can find yours, Marcel Beans, real quick. Hold on. Marcel, to be fair, you asked 3 questions. So that's a lot of questions. I think I answered all of your questions. Because you asked 3. I told you my favorite character. Told you my favorite storytelling archetype and stuff. I don't see a PS question, man. I don't see a PS question. To be fair, if there was a PS question, what happens is our virtual assistant, she compiles the Pirate King submissions and into a Word document. So that's where I read all of the Pirate King submissions. So maybe you made that in the previous post. But I will say, man, I just ask your PS question again in this month's Pirate King podcast. But to be fair, I answered 3 of your questions for the Pirate King podcast. And generally, I'm trying to answer like 1 per person. So I feel like a little bit of leeway there. But just ask your PS question again for this one. And yeah, we really should have the Pirate King podcast submissions already up. Let me just send a message real quick because this one's pretty late. Hold on. Actually, you know what? Let me just make the post right now. Why don't I just make the post right now? Because yeah, it should just be up at this point. Okay. Let me just continue on. I'll let you know once the Pirate King podcast post is up. I'll do it in the background. Justin Holland, we covered you. Marcel Beans, we covered you. Now Show, thanks for the 5. Looks like the Enma Shrine was desecrated in the cover story. Blackbeard, Pirates, and Wano, question mark? The Enma Shrine was desecrated. Oh, fuck. I fucking skimmed past the cover story. The Enma Shrine. Yasuo's sword is laid to rest at Enma Shrine in Hakamai. Pilgrimage complete. Is it desecrated? Am I confused? I don't see signs of desecration. Oh, I kind of see it, but I figured that's more so just because of through battle and stuff like that, right? Because like, I don't know what it looked like before. Wait, so Yamato's pilgrimage is complete? Some shit better happen in the next couple chapters, because like, this was not exciting. I don't think anyone gives a fuck about Yasuo's shrine. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people really, really love Yasuo's I mean, Yasuo was a good chapter. Yasuo was definitely a good chapter. In Yasuo's death was a good chapter, but I don't know how much people give a shit about like his sword being returned or whatever. Okay, let me post this. All right, for all YouTube members, the Pirate King podcast submissions just opened up, and let me post it on Patreon as well. Continuing on. Francisco Mas, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 32 months, man. Hi, Morge, how's the shoulder? This might be the best start to an arc ever. Every chapter is better than the last one, and all the characters seem interesting for the first time in a while. So, in terms of start to an arc, so let's keep in mind, we're only 25 chapters in, right? So, it depends. I think, like, lots of arcs have had some really exciting things happen in the first 25 chapters, but this is, like, definitely a phenomenal midway point, right? Definitely, if this is the midway point, this is a phenomenal midway point, and I love that Oda took his time with the setup, the pacing, really taking us through the land of Elbaf, giving us context, letting us slowly meet the side characters, and I think I love the level of characterization that we've gotten for all of them so far. And yeah, all the side characters seem interesting to me so far, like, even fucking Jarl. Like, I would never have expected that I've got Jarl so high up on the list at this point, but it is the way it is. Like, even Jarl I'm liking. Like, Jarl, Colin, like, characters that I didn't like initially. And then, obviously, Loki, Skopra Gaban, characters that I was vibing with from the get-go. Hold on. Whoops. Yeah, like, I just think that Elbaf has had, like, I like all the side characters a lot, I like the pacing a lot, and I love the tension that we're getting from this midpoint of the arc, assuming it's the midpoint. I do believe, sorry, Nalsha, I didn't finish this thought out. I do believe we will get the Blackbeard pirates in Wano. I wonder if they're there already, just because the Caribou setup indicates that like we should be getting Blackbeard pirates in Wano, right? Like Blackbeard should be heading over to Wano ASAP, because like why would he miss the opportunity to try and take on to try and seize seize Pluton, right? He's not going to skip that. He fucking traveled all the way to Amazon Lily just to pick up Boa Hancock's fruit. So I think definitely Blackbeard making his way to Wano. I just don't know if we will get that in Yamato's cover story or not. As for the shoulder, my shoulder's been fine for a long time, actually. My shoulder's been good for a long time. I actually just started taking boxing classes again. Because I took one way back when, if you guys... Actually, I took one way back when, but my Achilles still hurt. And then I took another last year, and that was with that sketchy trainer who was kind of a scam. And now this year, finally, I'm started going like semi-consistently. So I'd say this is the real start, basically. So I've had a couple now, and I'm probably going to be going back like at least a couple times a week. Tiptoe2910, thanks for the 5. Since power sharing is introduced on the bad guy's side, there's going to be an identical power eventually on the good guy's side. Kabuto Naruto vibes, and not in a good way. I hope we don't get power sharing, because I like the idea that the Straw Hats and the good guys in general are, like, Luffy inspires characters to be the best version of themselves, right? That's kind of his thing. None of the Straw Hats have their powers through cheap means. They've all had to train and work for it. So I don't know if, like, I would like power sharing. I'd say the closest thing we've seen is, like, Bello Betty. But Bello Betty, like, she also seems to inspire people to be the best version of themselves, which is a little bit different. So, yeah, I kind of hope we don't get power sharing. You know, like, Luffy inspiring Bonnie to turn into Nika, that was cool, right? Depending on who you ask. But that was... It's not power sharing, but it is having Bonnie become like a version of Nika herself through her own abilities, right? Through realizing her own capabilities. Let me just post this. How do I make this post? Hold on. Okay. What the fuck? All right. There we go. All right. Why is it... Carnage, thanks for the 5. Why is Emu pulling out a grimoire? This ain't Black Clover made. I do think that Oda draws inspiration from other series here and there. I do think that is a thing. It does seem very Black Clover-esque. That's not to say Oda, like, came up with Emu from Black Clover or whatever, but, like, I imagine Emu was the concept for a long time, and then, like, maybe some little odds and ends here and there are inspired from other series and bits, you know? Mosa, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 11 months. What will happen to the Celestials at the end? Death, redemption, or exile? My friend wants them all dead. Seems too dark. Only way is if Emu is farming them for strength, draining their life force. That's a phenomenal question, and it's one that's very, very, very difficult to answer, especially for like a story like One Piece where the characters who are so... The tricky thing is that even, like, the absolute worst of the worst characters in One Piece, right? Like a Doflamingo, like an NL, Oda doesn't kill them, right? He just doesn't kill them. It doesn't matter who at this point, right? NL is maybe the worst character in all of One Piece, considering he literally single-handedly committed genocide, just, like, wiping out prior islands, and he was trying to do that to all of Skypiea as well. So, I feel like... with the Celestial Dragons, they're also really bad. Really bad is a fucking understatement. It's like, what is the right justice for them? It's tricky because, like, with the Celestial Dragons, Oda set the precedent that some of them can be redeemed, right? With Don Quixote and Mjosgord. Because you have to remember that, like, the Celestial Dragons aren't just born evil. They grow up in a literal bubble, like literally in a bubble. They are raised to literally believe that everybody else is like lesser than them in a certain way, and that it is morally correct to treat them as objects of their desire, right? It's like if you are like we've seen this throughout normal human history as well, right? Like, if you are raised to believe that a certain race or culture or something is inferior or deserves to be subjugated, and like if an entire society is raised with those beliefs, then all of society, like human nature, like our morality is very, very easily shaped by what we're raised growing up with. Like, it's very easily shaped. Like, you can easily have an entire society that just believes it's okay to do that to humans, right? Human history has reflects that 50 million times over, right? I don't want to get into to all those ethics and everything like that as well, but it's just like the Celestial Dragons, this is not to excuse them as who they are. It's just, it's ultimately going to come down to how much Oda feels like he wants to stress the idea of redemption. Because, like, the redemption of them is just so, it would be such a difficult pill to swallow. Because, like slavery, killing slaves, riding around on slaves, rape, forced marriage, forced impregnation, like, there's so much. Like, the simple way to put it with the Celestial Dragons is, like, a lot of the worst shit that they do is likely off screen. It's stuff that Oda has to imply is what happened, right? Like, Oda's not literally going to be like, he's not going to show a scene of, like, Ginny being raped, but we know that that's what happened, and we know that that's what happens to a lot of people up there with the Celestial Dragons, right? So it's like, yes, on the one hand, with the Celestial Dragons, like, they grow up in a bubble. They are literally raised to believe that, like, their worldview is just so set. They're not just genetically evil, because if you think back, like, the fucking, like, any group of people could have ended up being the Celestial Dragons, right? Like, the descendants of the Celestial Dragons, because in an alternate reality, Vivi would be a Celestial Dragon right now, doing all the same shit, right? Because the Nefertari family was supposed to be one of the Celestial Dragons. They were signed up for that shit. It's just that something happened along the way where Lily had a realization, and then she realized that something was wrong or something like that, and she realized that she shouldn't be doing what she's doing, and then she stopped it, right? But if that hadn't happened, then guess what? The Nefertari family line would be, like, growing up there, right? Just like the Don Quixote family line, and Vivi would be a fucking Celestial Dragon, right? It would be, and Vivi would consider to be one of the best characters in the story. She would be a fucking Celestial Dragon, the same way as Charlos, right? So, I don't know. I think it's very difficult to say what Oda is going to do with the Celestial Dragons, because just putting them all in jail, like, because the worst consequence Oda has for his villains in general is, like, putting them in jail, right? Like, that's what he does. He's like, and some of them not even that. Like, NL gets off so light for all of the evils he's committed. He gets to actually achieve his dream, which is kind of crazy. He's like the only villain, I think, that straight up gets to achieve his dream. He gets to go to the moon, which is kind of crazy to me that NL, of all people, got that. But then, besides that, Doflamingo, he goes to jail. Like, most of the worst villains, they just end up in jail. Stay Curious as Oda didn't redeem Orochi. Orochi died! That's true. Orochi died. Yeah, Orochi died. That's true. Orochi died. Orochi's one of the few villains Oda had killed. So would Oda kill all the Celestial Dragons, though? It's tricky because, like, Don Quixote and Mjosgord got redeemed, so Oda kind of opens up the path to the idea that the Celestial Dragons can be redeemed. Okay, so for all because Musa, you're a Pirate King member. The Pirate King submissions, I just posted them, just opened them up. The Pirate King submissions for June, for those of you who don't know. Pirate King is the highest tier of support for the channel. So if you're a YouTube Pirate King tier member or a Patreon Pirate King tier member, what happens every month, you can submit any questions that you have for me that are fairly in-depth about, it can be about One Piece, it can also be about life, other series, other anime, manga, movies, video games, TV, NBA, other stuff in general. Like, you can submit questions about anything, and I can answer them in greater depth than I do on streams. And every month, it's all compiled into an hour to an hour and a half, sometimes longer podcasts. So that's the Pirate King podcast that comes out once a month. So if you want to get your submissions in, just head on over to the Pirate King podcast submissions right now. If you would like to support and try out the Pirate King tier, then definitely feel free. Akash Bana, thanks for the 2. What if Emu, and if you're a Pirate King tier member right now watching the stream, make sure to go get in your submissions. I imagine we got a lot of additional thoughts and questions coming off of this chapter, obviously. Akash, thanks for the 2. What if Emu later takes the giant army to Marishua? Yeah, so they have the mark now, right? So if they've all got the mark, they can teleport. So I feel like Emu taking them there makes sense because I feel like they've got to disappear. I don't think it's the end for Elbaf, right? I don't think it's the end for Elbaf. I don't think it's the climax of the arc personally. But you can't just have the giant warrior pirates running around Elbaf forever. So I see what you're saying about the save state thing, where it's like the wrist is missing, but it's still there, right? I get it now. So they should have the mark, right? They should be able to travel through the abyss. So if they're able to travel through the abyss, then yeah, taking them to Marishua seems like it makes a lot of sense. And then bringing them back at the end. I think that follows. So is Garland going to be redeemed? I imagine all the characters that are like fighters will be defeated, right? Defeated, and then I think they could just... I think once Emu dies, they will die because of the immortality situation. So I think that's going to happen for them, but I imagine with Celestial Dragons, people are more so thinking along the lines of like, what's going to happen with... what's going to happen with the rank and... Like the random normal Celestial Dragons. Whatever says Wapol got rich... Yeah, like, some of the bad guys ended up in better spots than they were before, like fucking Crocodile Wapol. But in terms of achieving his dream, only Enel achieved his dream. Wapol was a king already, so he kind of just got back to that sort of same situation. Drink water, Peg D's leg, thanks for the 5. Imagine Luffy accepts contract because he thinks it sounds cool, and then he gets a spear and trident and shield, but he's not under control, like the Nika image. Oh, that would be sick. But I don't think that, like... Luffy, I don't like the idea of Luffy relying on the villain's power. Although, low-key, we've been talking about Thriller Bark references. That's basically what happened in Thriller Bark, with Luffy getting the shadows and utilizing Moria's shadows. That'd be kind of sick. I like the idea of Luffy fighting and winning using his own power, though. If that's what Luffy needs just to pick up, like, a couple weapons, I'm sure you could find weapons in other ways rather than getting them from Emu. The GOAT, thanks for the 8. Is there a chance Emu turns Sanji evil like he was afraid of in Wano and Zoro has to fight him? So that's something that somebody mentioned a little bit earlier. For a final fight, I think no. Hey, Harley, no. For a final fight, I think no. Sorry, he's like licking his neutered incision. If that's the fight in Elbaf, that'd be kind of cool. We get Zoro versus Sanji again. I just don't know if anyone would like that. Because, like, Sanji fans would be like, oh, an amped Sanji is, like, equal to Zoro. And then Zoro fans, again, would probably want an opponent that they view as more exciting than fighting Sanji. So, yeah, I don't know if that makes anyone happy. Plank Vanilla, thanks, but it would fit with Sanji's fears from before. And there's an arc about fears coming to life, right? Plank Vanilla, thanks for the 249. Morge, like the stream. Nice posters behind you. Oh, I got a bit of a... We're going to talk about the posters at the end, because we are getting to the climax of the... World of One Piece collection. Make sure to go get your World of One Piece posters. Hold on. Make sure to go pick up your posters because we are at the climax of the World of One Piece. So the entire poster collection, the entire world is completed this month. The whole thing, all the posters. All the posters from the past are now available, and it's all in a buy two get two free deal. So make sure to go check out the posters. We'll go over the posters some more later in the stream. Carnage, thanks for the 5. One of Emu or Blackbeard has to hand Luffy a devastating defeat before his inevitable triumph. The question is, which one? I long believed that Blackbeard would be the one to hand Luffy a big defeat, and I didn't think Emu would necessarily give Luffy a big L or something. Kind of like how Enel never gave Luffy a big L. It's just like Luffy just showed up out of the blue, and Enel was like, oh, fuck. Finally, there's somebody that could actually... fight me and stand up to me and my natural enemy. So I do wonder if Luffy versus Emu is supposed to have a big Luffy defeat. I do think Luffy is supposed to lose to Blackbeard, though. I do think that is something that will be likely to happen. So we gotta wait and see on that. But maybe it would be a pleasant surprise to see Enel or Emu fuck Luffy up earlier than... in a way that I didn't expect, like right now in Elbaf. Jans the Nomad, thanks to the 5. Luffy will exorcise Emu from Gunko. Since she has the summoning ability, a Conqueror's Haki Blast could send Somers and killing him back to the Holy Land like on Egghead. That would be really cool. If Luffy has to unlock like the next level of Conqueror's Haki just to send them back, that would be really, really fucking sick. That would be really sick. That did also remind me of, like, this is random, but, like, if Shanks shows up in the arc, right? We saw Joy Boy's Hockey sent all the Gorosei back on Egghead. It would be an interesting parallel if Oda has that happen with Shanks doing that on Elbaf, just because Oda literally had Dorian Brogy mention on Egghead, like, oh shit, was Joy Boy's Hockey Blast just now, was that, like, as good as Shanks's? It's hard to say, right? Dick so small, I pissed on balls. Thanks for the 5. Emu doing all this and Oda still saving the Dragon showcase. We're not prepared. I feel like Dragon could only disappoint at this point now. I don't know. I feel like, well, I guess with this, we're not really seeing Emu fight, right? We're seeing Emu's, like, I guess you could say these are, like, Emu using, or setting up his passive abilities, right? Like, being able to use all these monsters. Sorry, 1 sec. Emu being able to create an army of monsters and things like that. I don't know if we're going to see Emu, like, throwing hands in Gunko's body quite as much. Obviously, we saw a glimpse against Dory, but, like, that wasn't a huge deal. Akash, thanks for 2. Luffy described the Gorosei as important government people. Yeah, so Luffy's got, like, a vague idea of them. And Akash is saying just boss of the Celestial Dragons is enough for Luffy, I think. Yeah, I think that could work, but it's just, like, how does that play into Luffy's concept of, like, his own journey and becoming Pirate King? Because, you know what's funny is, like, Luffy said to Enel, right? Luffy's explained his concept of Pirate King a couple times. And the first time he explained to Enel, he's like, Pirate King is the king of the seas. Like, that's what the Pirate King is, right? Luffy has gone this entire journey with, like, the world government basically being something he dislikes and something that he, like, knows is, like, a nuisance on his journey to becoming Pirate King, and he doesn't like them or whatever, right? But Luffy's always had his eyes on the Yonko. Not always, but ever since the Marineford and the time skip, he's had his eyes on the Yonko. He's like, they're the ones that I need to defeat to become Pirate King, right? I need to defeat the Yonko. That'll make me Pirate King. That'll make me King of the Seas. This would be the first time, and, like, the world government stuff has existed, but I don't think Luffy's ever, like, looked at the world government and been like, okay, somebody there is, like, the King of the Seas. I think Luffy just, he views them as, like, the big pain in the ass that's, like, everywhere. But I think in Luffy's mind, by the time he's Pirate King, no one will really be able to, like that. At that point, Luffy will have become the strongest on the ocean, right? I think that's kind of how Luffy views his journey. Like, by the time I'm Pirate King, I'll be the strongest. No one will be able to control me or do anything, or make me do anything. I will essentially be the King of the Seas, like his version of King of the Seas, in that, like, no one can rule him or impose power on him, right? And Luffy views the 4 emperors as the guys that he needs to surpass in strength, power, all of that stuff to attain that status, right? I think becoming becoming so strong the world government can't affect him is a natural consequence of surpassing the 4 emperors. I think that's kind of how Luffy's framed his journey so far. But this would be very different because it's like suddenly it's no longer just if he meets Emu and he understands, like, it's made clear to him what Emu is, then suddenly it's no longer like just important world government people or boss of the Celestial Dragons, because Luffy doesn't even view the Celestial Dragons as, like, they have no consequence to him. He doesn't view them as, like, in charge of anything, right? But if he meets Emu and sees the power that Emu has and what Emu does and what Emu actually is and everything, that right there, I wonder if that skews his view to finally recognize, like, there's something beyond defeating the 4 emperors if I want to be King of the Seas, right? You can defeat the 4 emperors, like surpass the 4 emperors. That's irrelevant to being above that guy who is the King of the Seas right now, right? I wonder if that is what Luffy is going to be able to process. Because, like, that is significant, right? This is the first time that Luffy's going to be presented with the fact that there is something, like, if he wants to be King of the Seas, it's not just the 4 emperors that he needs to surpass to become the strongest. There is something else, like a being who is above all that, who has been the actual King of the Seas for the longest time, who's the strongest, who's been the literal King of the Seas for a long time, and who's had this whole thing under his control for 800 years, And Luffy does not like the idea of everything being controlled by one person. Like, you go look at his final exchange, his final dialogue with Doflamingo. He hates the idea of there being like this all-powerful god figure that just rules over everybody. So I'm very curious when Luffy meets Emu and recognizes the true level of what's out there and like the true big boss of this whole shebang. I'm curious how this would be the first time that I think Luffy would ever have to recontextualize his journey to Pirate King, where Luffy would have to realize that, like, okay, beating Shanks, Blackbeard, and stuff, that doesn't mean I'm the king of the ocean, not as long as that guy exists. I wonder if that's essentially how it would go, or if Oda's going to avoid that sort of discussion or dilemma for Luffy. MOH, thanks for the 5. I think Luffy will get possessed by Emu. Or Loki will get possessed by Emu. The God's Knights already wanted to recruit him. Also, Loki's injuries would get healed by Emu's powers. That would be so fucking insane if Loki was possessed by Emu. Because that's a character that a lot of us already feel might be touching Yonko level. Nobody really knows for sure. Admiral, Yonko, whatever. For him to get the Emu buff and become like the ultimate puppet, what the fuck would that even look like? That would be maybe the strongest opponent Luffy's ever have to go up against. Like, that would be crazy. Holy shit, I did not consider that. That is a really good idea. Vinny, thanks for the 8. Hey, Morge. I remember you saying on stream after Wano ended that you'll get the analysis out by the end of the year. 2 months. Now it's been over 2 years. LMAO. It's just the way it is. It will get there. It'll get there. I want to be done with it too. Endercraft7393, thanks for the 5. Did you see Totally Not Mark's theory on God Valley drifting away and becoming Thriller Bark? Explaining why it's so big and the rock-inspired zombies? That is a really fucking cool theory. That's actually one of the coolest theories I've ever heard. It doesn't have the structure of God Valley, but maybe the whole island structure kind of got destroyed in the process. KIA, thanks for the 2. Do you think Sindri is a parallel to Gunko? Do I think Sindri is a parallel to Gunko? I think Sindri is a parallel to Gunko. Yeah, I do think so. And that's like another example of Thriller Bark foreshadowing some Elbaf elements. Yes, I do think so. Meek, good to see you, man. Thanks for the 5. How you doing? I'm doing good. How about you, Meek? Marcel Beans, thanks for the 2. The question wasn't from me, but from Musa.co. Oh, what? The questions weren't from me, but from Musa.co. I guess I'm confused. Hold on. I'm sorry, man. I guess I missed something. Let me try and find what you're talking about again in a second. Julian Reed, thanks for the 5. Not necessarily power sharing, but couldn't Bonnie's distorted future power make the Straughts or other good guys the strongest versions of themselves? But I'd like them to actually train to get to that level, you know? Bonnie's ability for herself is an exception because she's like a little kid, so it's like cool as a concept that she can reach her full potential just through Devil Fruit magic. But for someone like Zoro, I would rather he like actually have to fight to get to his full level rather than just be like magically transported there. I think it's better for their story. Elijah Petty, thanks for the 2. Do you think Magellan was affected by Emu's fruit? No, I think Magellan just looks like that, but that's an interesting point. I think Magellan just looks weird. Bane, thanks for the 2. When Emu gets desperate, he'll turn celestial dragons into demons. Oh, shit. And that is a good idea. Just like that's kind of they get what they deserve. They're just turned into foot soldiers for like the final villain or something. I think that's really good. They get what they deserve in that sense. Just turned into like foot soldier minions that have no mind of their own that have to fight as like basically Emu slaves. I like that. Like they get a taste of what it's like. I really like that idea. That's a phenomenal idea. Let's get the stream likes to 350 real quick. Let's get the stream likes to 350. I like that idea a lot. That's a phenomenal idea. The Black Blur, thanks for the 2. It's Kid still drowning under Elbaf. If there's a time for Kid to show up and like help, it's now. This is it. This is the moment, man. The monster trio aren't even here. This is the moment. If he's gonna do something, please let it happen now. Julian02, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 2 months. Any chance my super chats were accidentally blocked? If that's even possible. I literally can't super chat at all for your channel only. I don't think that they would be blocked. Oh shit, the link didn't work. Why didn't the link come up? Or maybe I did it incorrectly. My bad. Link to the posters. Here, let me do it again. Link to the posters. Give me a second. I don't think your supers should be blocked. Yeah, I don't think the super should be blocked. I'm sorry that's happening. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry about that, man. Are you from like, are you, is it a certain currency or something like that? Well, you said it's from my channel only, so I don't know. I'm sorry about that. That's weird. Why's the link connection not working? That's weird. It should just pop up for you guys. Here, let me try this. Maybe it's because we changed the link a little bit. Because we made some edits to the site. Boris Sarab, thanks for joining. Thanks for becoming a Supernova member. I appreciate the support. Akash Bandit, thanks for the 2. Watch the One Piece live action Straw at Slumber Party to Doom promo. Hyped. Oh, I did watch that. I thought it's funny. I think it's light. I think it's simple. Like it keeps the same tone and vibe. I think they got the vibe right for the Straw Hats so far, like the East Blue 5. I think they play off each other well. They also had some small gags that were kind of good. Like you can rewatch it and you can feel how in character everybody kind of is in terms of like the little mannerisms or how they should interact with each other. In like as the Straw Hats. Hold on, let me make just a quick note. Yeah. Okay. Ryan Azara, thanks for the 5. Luffy would fight Emu when he sees Emu being mean to his friends, like Tama and Kaido, but he wouldn't probably personally give a fuck about Emu like he would Blackbeard. Yeah, it's complicated because it's like, one, Emu is gonna fuck with pretty much all of his friends, and that Emu's gonna launch an assault on the entire world. But the tricky thing with Emu is just like, does it matter to Luffy that this is somebody that needs to be defeated on the way to becoming, like, if Luffy meets Emu, I wonder how Luffy would ever be able to consider himself king of the seas by defeating, like, Shanks, Buggy, and Blackbeard. He's just like, is he going to feel like, now I'm the king of the seas when he knows that there's, like, someone way more powerful that rules over everybody? I don't know. I think that would be, like, almost contradictory to things that Luffy's been saying so far. Because if you go through the story, Luffy says stuff like, I need to be strong. Like, he tells Bluno, like, I need to become stronger than anyone else, because that's how I'm able to protect everyone that I care about. Luffy explains that the Pirate King doesn't rule anybody, but he's the freest man, right? So nobody can control the Pirate King, meaning nobody's above the Pirate King, right? Luffy tells NL that Pirate King is the king of the seas, right? Luffy tells Doflamingo that, like, I'm going to kick your ass and be free, right? Like, Luffy knows that he can't truly be the freest until he stands above, like, as long as they're not, when there's people that stand above him in the hierarchy, he can't be the freest, right? It's just that Luffy's always fixated on the One Piece and becoming Pirate King, because it seems as though he's figured that, like, once I defeat the 4 emperors and get the One Piece and, like, surpass Shanks, surpass all those guys, at that point, I'll have achieved, like, absolute freedom. Like, I'll be the strongest, I'll have the strongest crew. Like, at that point, I'll really have done it. I'll have surpassed everybody else on the ocean, right? Once you meet Emu, how could he ever think that's the case again? That's my only thought. Dare Boppler, thanks for the 2. The way Emu beat Dory, he may be as strong as Mr. 3. Oh, shit. Yeah, Mr. 3 scaling here. Or Mr. 3 is as strong as Emu. Akash Panda, thanks for the 2. Emu might be in the way of Luffy's dream post-Pirate King. That's true. I wonder if we get Luffy's true dream in this arc. That's a great point. Kids, like, maybe Luffy doesn't mention Pirate King when he sees Emu, but he mentions, like, maybe what Luffy, he recognizes that this will be an obstacle to his true dream, and that's how we get context for what Luffy's true dream is. Let's get the stream likes up to 400 real quick. KidSmitty94, thanks for the 10. It's weird that Emu isn't just doing this to whoever is attacking Marishua. Do you think she has to be possessing someone in order to use her powers, and do you think it has to be Gunko specifically? That's a good question. I think sometimes Oda will make things a little bit contrived to have the plot go in the way that he wants. So if Oda wanted to debut Emu's abilities for the protagonists, but also wanted to make it so that like they're having problems in Marishua, it's possible Oda just doesn't have Emu right having Emu use their abilities directly against whoever's attacking in Marishua. For whatever reason. It's just like, for Oda, it might just be cooler to have Emu debut using their abilities right here in Elbaf, and then just be like, well, everybody needs to come back to Elbaf to deal with the problems there. And it's like, well, Emu, why don't you just deal with the problems there? Maybe the logic is like, well, I don't want to get my hands dirty. So like Emu prefers using an avatar. I wouldn't be surprised if Gunko is I wouldn't be surprised if Gunko specifically is an avatar. If Gunko specifically is an avatar that Emu can possess, and Emu can't just do that to all the God's Knights, because Gunko, like, remove Emu's possession, right? We already know that Gunko has a personality inside her personality, right? Her true personality is one that was buried, and then the personality that we see of her as a God's Knight is like all brainwashed and everything like that, and like talking up the Celestial Dragons. But Gunko's true personality came out when she saw Brook. So it's possible that there's already been something done to Gunko that something that's already been done to Gunko that shapes her to be the ultimate avatar for Emu. Whereas what do you call? Whereas Emu can't just like take over any random God's Knight that he wants. Like Gunko might have been tailor-made to be a usable avatar. Duck Nguyen, thanks for the 6. BTW, the Chainsaw Man analysis goated. How did you learn of the concept of the hedonic treadmill? Also, what about a Fire Punch analysis or Chainsaw Man Part 2? Thank you. I still think a lot of people to date still tell me that the Chainsaw Man analysis is the best analysis that I've ever done. It's possible that I was like really putting my best possible foot forward for like a new series and everything like that. And the concept of the hedonic treadmill, I forget where I learned it. I learned it before Chainsaw Man. But then as I read Chainsaw Man, I realized that this is specifically what Chainsaw Man is attacking. And it attacks that concept better than any other story I've seen attack the concept of the hedonic treadmill. Like Chainsaw Man is really, really strong in that sense, in attacking that philosophical concept. Fire Punch, I have a whole outline written for like a hypothetical Fire Punch analysis I would do, because I think it's even like, I think Fire Punch's writing and the themes that it tackles and the manner in which it tackles them, it's like the best that I've read in a manga. Like Fire Punch is like out of this world in terms of like the concept that it wanted to tackle, which is like a little bit more even of like a abstract high concept primary theme than Chainsaw Man. Like Chainsaw Man is kind of like Fujimoto trying to make a simpler theme to write the story around, even though it's one that's still like head and shoulders ahead of most other shonen what they try to write about, right? Fire Punch is like a few steps ahead of that. Like what it gets at is so fucking interesting, and the story that he concocted to communicate this message is like one of the most creative concepts ever that I've ever read in anything ever. Like Fire Punch is fucking amazing. So I have like a whole outline that I have for it. I don't know if I'm ever gonna do it because it's just like it would have to be on Manga Morge, and be basically me going back to Manga Morge, and I don't know if I'm ready to break the glass on that just yet, especially when like just finding time to do the Wano analysis is such a burden. So I don't know, but I really would love to do it. Chainsaw Man Part 2, I'm not caught up, so don't hold your breath on that just for the moment. Drinkwater Pegdy's leg, thanks for the 10. Theory. Shusi was acting up while Zoro was training to use his haki with Mihawk. Shusi almost possessed Zoro, left eye turned ringed, and Mihawk cut out his eye to prevent him from becoming fully possessed. That is a pretty wild theory. I'm not going to say I'm like on board with it. I don't know if that's a thing, but like, you know, I think there is a Zoro flashback that's waiting to be had with his training with Mihawk. One second. Grizzly Adams, thanks for the 5. If we're looking for potential thriller bark parallels, Usopp already being brave could serve a similar function to him already being negative. That's true. That's interesting. I do think that whatever it is will play into Usopp's conflict with killing him. I think it will play into that. I think there'll be it'll be another Perona type situation. Maybe not the exact same concept, but something very similar. The Blackbeard, thanks for the 10. Oh yeah, Morge, you heard the theory that Emu is controlling Lily's body? Cobra did say that she never came back from Alabasta. Plus, there's a sword in the flower room that could be the missing 20th sword. Yeah, I've heard the theory that Emu might be a body hopper. Some people, I think even earlier this stream, mentioned that Emu might be in Rox's body right now or something like that. And that Emu may have been looking at the photos of like Luffy, Blackbeard, Shirahoshi, Vivi to try and figure out whose body to hop to next. I do think that's a very interesting theory. And that could explain why Oda has been keeping Emu in shadow for so long. Bane, thanks for the 2. Drums of Liberation or Brooks music is the key, in my opinion. I think that's going to be huge, but towards the end of the arc, unless Oda wants to pull out Brooks music right now to maybe drive out Emu from Gunko. But I think it would be more powerful at the end of the arc, in my opinion. Juin02, thanks for the 5. Super Chats literally just started working again after trying to troubleshoot this entire stream, lol. Seems okay now. I got the loose yet, I guess. Thanks for the 5, Juin02. I do appreciate it. I'm, sometimes YouTube's just glitchy. It's just the way it is sometimes. Rihanna Zar, thanks for the 10. The real reason Emu keeps the Celestial Dragons around is because they are the most pure as descendants of the 20 Kings and would make the strongest devils. Yeah, why does Emu keep the... Maybe because the Celestial Dragons are like Emu likes separation, right? Emu likes layers of separation. So, but why keep all the Celestial Dragons? Why keep all the Celestial Dragons? Like, what happens if Emu just removed the Celestial Dragons? Like, why keep them? Because Emu needs the Gorosei. Does Emu need the Celestial Dragons? Because all the benefits of the Celestial Dragons, no, there's no benefits, right? Like, people have to send up Celestial Gold to Marijua and everything like that. They have to send up Celestial Gold to Marijua, but that could be a thing. Like, Emu could make that a thing regardless of the Celestial Dragon's existence or not. He could just have the Gorosei rule everything. When he has the Celestial Dragons, he's also got God's Knights that he can recruit from them. So, like, you've got the private militia and everything like that. But the Celestial Dragons don't help in running the government or anything. The God's Knights make for good military, and then some Celestial Dragons get promoted to Gorosei status, and they make good mouthpieces and like government positions for Emu to like run the world. But the rest of the Celestial Dragons, yeah, I don't know. Maybe Emu just likes having some of them around, and then that's like his direct base that he can pluck soldiers for God's Knights from, or like political figureheads for the Gorosei from. That's my only thought, but it might be something we learn more about as we get more context for Emu's past and Emu's character. That's a really good question. JTS Doggo 629, thanks for the 2. Gunkoimus Pentagram, English in bottom left. Yes, sir. What? What? Oh. What are you talking about? Somebody was mentioning some English in the pentagram. I don't see English inside the pentagram. Where's the English in the pentagram? Am I missing something? What page is this? Maybe I just can't read. What page is this? Let's see. So is there English text in the pentagram? Is there English text in the pentagram? Okay, so I'm looking at the pentagram. I don't see English text here. It just seems like random gibberish text, right? Isn't this just random, unless I can't read? It just seems like random gibberish text to me. Yeah, I don't know what I'm looking at. Can someone point out what's the text of the pentagram? I don't understand. Boris Sarab, thanks for the 5. Captain T, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 3 months. Please make sure to I just did the post for a Pirate King member, so please make sure to go check out the Pirate King member submissions and just get your question in for the month that I'll be responding to in Boris' super is his reply to a super in the chat. Okay. I can look at that. So let me do Boris Sarab first. Let's see. How do I get to it? Let me see. I might have to scroll a little bit. To get to this. Okay, I found it. What about Emu? Emu is Oda? Blackbeard beats Oda. Luffy beats Blackbeard. I don't know if Emu's Oda though. I don't know if Emu's Oda's self-insert. Luffy beats up the author. That'd be funny. But yeah, Captain T, just make sure to get in your Pirate King podcast submissions. The submissions are now open, and obviously I'll answer it in the upcoming podcast. Marcel Beans, I just checked the May Pirate King podcast submissions. I still don't see what you're referring to as the PS thing. You said Musa had a question or something like that? I think I'm just confused. Can you just put it as a PS again for the upcoming June one? Whatever you're referring to? I think I'm just confused as to what you're referring to. Sorry about that. So Captain T says, so it's a given that Emu has the devil fruit at this point, or something very, very similar in theme. What other possible fruit/power could it be? Watch out for next Tuesday's video, but I do believe along those lines, yeah. But it is something that, it's not brand new in the story, but it is something that is along those lines, yeah. Molly, thanks for the 10. This is the first time where I feel like One Piece is actually ending soon. Emu making his move now is probably going to spiral into a lot of endgame stuff beginning to occur. Definitely the greatest show of all time. Yeah, we are in the endgame. Finally having the villain do some shit, the final villain. We're in the endgame. It feels like the final saga. I think Elbaf is going to spiral into like the Ragnarok final war stuff. I think this arc is going to be a direct segue into all that stuff. Justin Holland, thanks for the 2. Emu feels like Luffy's own ultimate Mihawk. Yeah. It's Luffy's final fight, I believe. JWP, thanks for the 10. Maybe Emu isn't defending Marija because he just doesn't want all of the Celestial Dragons and possible Marines in Marija to know that he's there as leader of the world, who is a literal evil demon. I think that's very, very possible. Emu's still trying to keep up the act. So he's like, where are my soldiers? My soldiers should be handling this. Y'all should be taking care of this. Oh, you're fucking around here? Okay, well, I can let loose in Elbaf. I can't let loose back there. I think that's definitely a possibility. I'm really curious as to what's going down in Marija that's so big. Maybe the Gorosei can't transform there because they also want to hide their shit too. Although the Gorosei Marines of a certain rank and up are allowed to see them. Maybe other Celestial Dragons, Emu doesn't want to see them. So maybe it's more so on the Holy Knights to really show what they can do here. And the God's Knights are a little depleted right now. I think that's a possibility. Daniel Lavorsky, thanks for the 5. Do you think the current 4 Emperors will have a 4-way battle at Laugh-Tale? And that's where Zoro will have his fight with Mihawk. There's a few there's a few combinations that I think make sense for how the story is going to play out, like in its final battle. I do think that things are going to hit a climax at Marija. I do think that that's where things will hit a bit of a climax. A battle between all 4 Emperors would be really cool. And, like, Mihawk would essentially be the stand-in Emperor for Buggy, because Buggy can't really fight. I do think that's possible. Akash Bandit, thanks for the 2. Luffy punches Vivi, Emu inside again in the final war. That'd be funny. Emu can't escape. Vivi can't escape. Mosa, thanks for the 10. Weird how Emu, Gorosei, and God's Knights work, and the weak Celestials live in luxury. Maybe they're bred to be farmed as power sources or soldiers. If Emu's power feeds on malice, having a nation of vile people is a W. Oh, that's an interesting idea. If he gains power from like evil or nasty negativity, and like Emu literally mentions that like people's natural form is to be demons and stuff like that. Maybe that's because he sees what the Celestial Dragons essentially are, and that's Emu's concept of what like people really are inside. It's interesting. JWP, thanks for the 10. I feel like we're going to send Emu back and get a break from fighting to cover all the Elbaf arc stuff, like the lore, Loki flashbacks, Strahd side quests, etc. Then all the Holy Knights will invade and Elbaf will fail. I agree with you all the way up to the end. I don't know if this is supposed to be an arc where like Elbaf just goes down, but it does seem like very possible that like, because like if the arc has a sort of failure point for the Strahds part way, like is happening right now, then I feel like it'd be odd if we get like then a whole character section and picking ourselves back up and Strahd's doing side quests and all that, just for them to all lose again at the end of Elbaf. Especially if this is an arc where the Strahds are supposed to reunite with Shanks, because then like Shanks seeing Luffy take a big L again after Marineford, that's just not a good rhythm for their meetups. But at the same time, there's the idea that like, well, Elbaf is supposed to spark the final war, Ragnarok. It's been hinted at that the Atom Tree is going to go down. There's so many ways that the arc can close out. It's a very, very exciting storyline where you really don't know where it's going to go. JTS Dog 0629, thanks for the 2. Eris D Tar, Emu's potential name, Eris Planet. Eris D Tar, what? Eris D Tar. So you're saying that's what's on the pentagram? That's not what it reads like to me. Are you talking about the Brogy panel? Which panel? I guess we got a couple panels of pentagrams. Where's the other panel? Eris D Tar? I mean, the name should be Saint Emu Nerona, right? That should be the real name. I think I'm just not reading the same shit everybody else is reading. Where's Eris D Tar? Oh, I see what you're saying. Eris D Tar. I'm not going to read too much into that. To me, that might just be gibberish. I have no idea. No idea. Maybe it's something, maybe it's not. Akash Panda, thanks for the 2. Oda said his self-insert is Shanks, Blackbeard victim 2. That's true. That's true. Arose, thanks for the 5. You brought up fears coming to life as one of the themes of this arc. If we're going to get an idea of what Luffy's true dream is, could be I see it. Hold on. You continue on this on in a second. 1 second. So this seems like a 2-parter. I scrolled far down too far. Oh, Arose, yeah, I don't see the rest of your comments just yet. So I guess that's still coming. Okay, I'll finish out Arose's comment in a second. Rockstar? People are saying it says Rockstar? I don't think it says that. I'm just not going to read too much into it. Maybe it is a thing. Elijah Petty, thanks for the 2. Do you think Kong is still strong at his age? I fucking forget about Kong all the time. I don't know. I'm going to say probably not that strong. It's weird because, like, I feel like Kong has aura. Just, like, he's... Because, like, Garp and Sengoku are both pretty buff, and then Kong is, like, more buff than either of them. So it's kind of like in Baki when, like, you meet Yujiro's dad, Yuichiro, and Yuichiro's even more jacked than Yujiro. Kind of gives that sort of vibe. But everyone else seems to think that Kong sucks, which is also very, very possible, because Kong has never been hyped by anyone in the story ever. Outside of his former Fleet Admiral status, I guess that's some inherent hype, right? Like, Garp was shit-talking Kong in the one chapter that we really had of Kong from Chapter 0. So there hasn't been that much in-story hype for Kong. But I will say this. Sometimes Oda just, like... How do I say this? Sometimes Oda just... He doesn't hype characters, but, like, from their status, you can kind of speculate that they're strong. Like, remember the Gorosei, right? People, like, for a long time, we didn't realize that the Gorosei would be, like, admiral level or whatever we want to say they are, you know? Like, for a long time, it's like, okay, the Gorosei, they're probably strong. They seem strong, but they're probably not, like, that strong or whatever, you know? Like, they're probably, they're strong, but they're not, you know, they're not going to be, like, a lot of people didn't even know if they were going to be fighters. Like, I was unsure if they were even going to be fighters. If they were, I thought they might be like Cypher Pole level or something. And then when we got those Sabo chapters, it was like, okay, shit, they're probably pretty strong. And then we got to Egghead, and it was like, okay, never mind. They're actually like endgame type villains, you know? So yeah, I think that could be a possibility with Kong as well, where it's just like like right now there's not much that suggests he's really that strong outside of his status, but at the end, like, or his rank, but at the end of the day, his rank in itself could be hype, and we just don't realize it. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, I'm just doing something at the same time. All right. Arose, did you ever finish your comment? I'll give you a little bit longer to see if you finish your comment. Whatever. Welcome to the Yonko. Thanks for joining. Definitely check out the weekly podcasts for the Yonko tier members. Come out every single Tuesday, so you've got a treasure trove of podcasts to dig into now. JTS Dog 0629, thanks for the 2. Eris was the hidden/forgotten 10th planet in our solar system. What? We had 10 planets, and now we're down to what, like 8? It's fucked up. Eris is a dwarf planet. What the fuck? So we once counted this as a 10th planet? That's pretty cool. Was Eris once a planet? But then how come Eris wasn't ever like part of like the Greek pantheon and shit like that? Like, I know Eris is a character in Greek mythology, but like, you know, all the major planets we got, like everybody up to Pluto we got in like Greek and Roman mythology, right? So you're saying even further back than that? Did our telescopes even see that far? Was Eris ever a planet? Eris was initially referred to as the 10th planet by some. Oh, so later on, there was a period of time more recently that people actually thought that Eris should count as a planet. I did not expect it to be a recent development. I thought they figured that shit out. I thought as time went on, they started to take away more and more planets. They're like, you know what? We're going to make this a stricter sort of like qualification system. Damn. So we all... Man, I don't know what I know so much about astrology and shit. Now I might have to actually go and take a look at like the various because we've had several pentagrams at this point. I might actually have to go and take a look at the various texts on each of the pentagrams just to see what things have been missed so far. But that is very interesting. Eris D Tar, so Emu being a D. I don't know. It's just, there's so many questions now. That's one of my favorite things about One Piece, which is that, like, the further that we go in the story, like, we're getting to the end, right? This stuff means that we're close to the end, but this chapter doesn't really answer any more questions. I think it answers one question maybe, which is likely what happened with Harold, right? It likely answers what happened with Harold. Maybe, maybe not. But it opens up 50 million more questions, right? Like, what's the deal with Emu? What's Emu's ability? Who really was Emu? What is the final battle going to look like? How is Elbaf the rest of the arc going to go? Are the Strats going to lose here? Are the Strats going to win? It's just, there's constant, you're not getting answers even this late into One Piece. Like, remember the mural? The mural didn't answer jack shit. The mural fucking confused the fuck out of all of us, but in a good way, like in a way that makes us more excited. It's just a remarkable ability of Oda's to consistently do this. Like, it's just not the case with any other story, really, that I've ever read, like, this late. Yeah, I just think, I don't know. This chapter, I'd say this chapter, the mural, and Nika, like, Luffy's gear 5th, I'd say those things all happening in the span of the last 100 chapters or so is kind of insane, because, like, all of them are contenders for most mind-blowing chapters in One Piece. And we're just going to keep getting stuff like this. So, I don't know. And you know what's really funny? I feel like Oda usually times things up so that break weeks, like the chapters before break weeks, are the most exciting. I think he tries to kind of go for that. And so the simple fact that this chapter didn't lead to a break week, and Oda's actually going to go one more in a row for 1151, that's crazy exciting, because next week's chapter might even top this one. Because last week's cliffhanger, that was fine. Like, that was a solid cliffhanger, as is. Like, that was a good enough cliffhanger to go off of. But Then he gave us this chapter, which is one of the craziest chapters in all of One Piece, and it seems like he's still not treating that as like the perfect cliffhanger just yet. So he's gonna go, like, him going one more on top of this. I don't know if this chapter like broke everyone's brains. I think next chapter might be like a really hype chapter where we get to see like a showdown with the monster trio or something like that. Because the fact that Oda hasn't cut to Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji in a little bit, I think that suggests that they may have gotten wind of what's going on and are on the train up to try and deal with the situation. I wouldn't be surprised if next chapter ends with them arriving on like a flying boat or whatever to get in on the action. Okay, I'm just gonna address Arosa's comment because it seems like we're not getting the sec. Arosa's comment is right below his. Oh, okay. His super in the chat. Okay. Here, I can find it. Hold on, give me a second. One second, Rose. Okay, so Rose said, you brought up fears coming to life as one of the themes of this arc. If we were to get an idea of what Luffy's true dream could be, I could see it tying into creating a world where people no longer live in fear, and to an extreme, a world where fear no longer exists. I think... I don't know if that's necessarily... I don't think Luffy... I don't know if that's going to be... I don't think I've ever really felt like Luffy's wishes that people didn't have to live in fear. I think the thing that we've seen pretty consistently with Luffy, especially going back to his childhood backstory, is that he doesn't like the idea of like some people having nothing while everybody else has a lot. And that was stressed a lot over the course of Wano as well. Right, so I think it's more so the inequality aspect. I don't think Luffy believes that it would be a better world if people didn't have fear. Because I think, if anything, Luffy, throughout the story, kind of like, he feels like people should try and be strong and face their fears. Like, you can even go back to the first arc where he met Usopp, and like, Luffy was like, I wouldn't even bother helping you fight these Black Cat pirates if not for the fact that like you were willing to stand up for yourself and like fight these Black Cat pirates, right? Like, I don't think Luffy believes in a world where like nobody has to face scary things. If anything, like, you can even look at how Luffy was like kind of bullying the kids of Elbaf at the start of this and like trying to get them to fight, and they were like, no, we don't fight and stuff anymore, and he was like, no fighting, like that's lame. I think that it's not like Luffy wants people to be scared, obviously, but I don't think that he views like a totally sanitized world as necessarily a good one. I don't think at the same time Luffy has like very deep philosophies about a lot of things. I just don't think that that's ever really been like a driving goal of his, but he has always been bothered by things being unfair. I think Luffy dislikes unfairness quite a bit in the story, and that's been a constant driving factor for him throughout it. So that's just my thought on that, but I do think that this will be the arc where we learn about Luffy's true dream. I do think that is something that... Well, is this going to be the arc, or maybe Oda's really saving it for the final arc? I don't know how much longer Oda can really save that, because like this is important to us understanding our main character, you know? So JTS Doggo 629 says, and thanks for the 2, Hidden Ruler Emu, Hidden Planet Eteris, Aristar equals star polygo. I guess I could see that. It's a strange reference to me, because to me it's just like, did everybody fucking know about this Eris thing? Because to me this is very new. It's an odd reference, but I guess that's interesting. If Emu represents if Emu's represented by like this hidden planet that is kind of a planet but not really a planet, I guess that's interesting. I think we just gotta wait and see. I don't know. I don't want to get into reading the pentagram things too much, but if that is revealed to be a thing, I think that'd be a really cool catch by people. I think my more cynical thought is that like we've seen these pentagrams a little bit, and like we've seen scribblings, so at a certain point, just through some combination of letters, like it will spell out a word that could seem like it means something. Does that make sense? Like at a certain point, just anything will seem like if any word is possible. There's so many combinations of letters that could make a word that I don't know if I want to put in too much stock into that just right off the bat. But I will definitely say that it's possible. I think it'd be cool if Oda worked that in. But at the same time, I'm kind of going with the face value of what we've been told so far, that like Emu's true name is Saint Emu Nerona, and like we just work with that for the moment. But you know, we'll wait and see. Wait and see. All right. Akash Panda. Oh wait, sorry. Right before you got Meek. Meek, thanks for the 5, man. You know how in real life we can call 911 for the police? Is there a similar 911 system to call for Marines in One Piece if your island is attacked by pirates? That's a great question. That's a great question. I think, because like usually what we see, there must be, because like I think we've seen people on the phone before, like calling the Marines, like especially when like people are trying to report like 10-year-old Robin for being out and about. So people can call the Marines. I'm sure there's a 911 system. It's never really been fully explained how Denden Mushis work. So how do you get the Denden? No, Denden Mushis, they kind of just dial the way that you dial them. So maybe there is a 911 for Denden Mushis. I think that's possible. It's a good point, Meek. Akash, thanks for the 2. Did Emu, Dami Reversi, the 19 Kings, Lily broke free? That could be cool. It's just that then their kids, the Celestial Dragons, wouldn't they be looking up at their parents and being like, you guys are really fucking weird now? Lily broke free. I don't know. That's a really good question. I think that's very possible. It's just that the Celestial Dragons of today are so neutered and so like coddled and babied and like so in a little bubble that I don't know if like Emu ever bothered to. It is a questionable though, like what did Emu do to get the rest of the Celestial Dragons to like how aware are the rest of the Celestial Dragons of Emu and his level of control over them and the world? I don't know. That's a very important question for the rest of One Piece, but I definitely think that's possible, what you're proposing right there. Definitely think it's possible. Seeing one thing real quick. Yeah, I feel like the idea that Emu turns the rest of the Celestial Dragons into like maybe you know what's possible? Maybe I could imagine a scenario where Emu like where at the end of the story, like maybe there's some Celestial Dragons that are more capable of change than others or something like that. And so then the ones that are more capable of change, maybe they're given a chance to defect and then like have to atone for their sins or something. And the ones that refuse, they are ones that they're the ones that basically get Dami reversied by Emu and turned into demons. I do like the idea a lot now at this point of Emu just turning the Celestial Dragon. I think that's a fitting end for them just being turned into because it fits better to me than them just being like mindlessly executed, but being killed off by the villain himself or turned into the mindless puppets of the villain himself. I think that is a fitting end to what most of them deserve. Like pretty much all of them deserve, because none of them outside of Mjosgård have attempted to change or do anything like that. And they likely are not ever going to, just on their own, unless there's like some major influence or something huge would have to happen in the story. It's just Oda's written in too much evil for the Celestial Dragons having done over the course of the story for I think the general populace of the One Piece reader base ever like accepting them, if that makes sense. Hold on. 1 second. All right. So I'm still trying to fit in some food in between. Without breaking flow. This breakfast burrito has gotten very stale. That's all I can say. It's gotten very stale. I'm still trying to truck through. The Cone Joe 09, thanks for the 2. Does Dofi know about Emu? I definitely think Dofi knows about Emu. I definitely think Doflamingo knows about Emu. Doflamingo seemed very aware of the immortality surgery, and he seemed to be very aware that there's somebody up there that has immortality surgery, and he's like, he knows the secret of Marie Joelle. He knows certain things. I don't know how he learned it, but I definitely think that Doflamingo knows stuff. Starbright, thanks for the 5. Emu Domi reversied the 19 kings, one of which had Pudding's fruit awaken and used to erase the world's memories and get children of the kings in order. That's a cool idea. Starbright, that's a great idea. I like that. You know what? I forgot. I can heart these comments. That's a great idea. I do not mean 19 kings being mindless, but just evil like Brogy. Yeah, maybe. That's what Akash Panda said. I definitely think that's possible. Definitely think that's possible. That's a great idea. Yeah, I don't know. That's a simple way that Emu could set himself up. Domi Reversi is a great way to just subjugate and take over control. And it fits with, like, the whole concept of, like, Emu, the celestial dragons, like, the god of the world, just being able to brainwash, turn someone into your obedient soldier, in a sense. It fits really, really, really well. People no longer have to live in fear, says Rose. Yeah, I guess so. I just don't know if that's fear because of the current power structure of the world and the constant power struggles with the coming of the dawn. The change will be so drastic that a byproduct of what comes is a world where people no longer have to live in fear. I think that'll be a byproduct of what comes, but I don't think that that's necessarily, like, Luffy's own goal. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the goal is, like, if I was saying, like, a world of peace and, like, a world of peace, sharing, equality, etc., that seems to be the harmonious end goal, then I think that that a byproduct of that is that people will no longer live in fear, but I think that's a byproduct of the goal. I don't know if that will necessarily be Luffy's own goal. I think. Elijah Petty, thanks for the 5. Hot take, Gear 5 is a Deus Ex Machina. Luffy didn't outsmart or outgrow Kaido. He just unlocked a hidden god fruit and cartoon punched his way to victory. So, I did a whole video on this, which is that, like, to this day, I don't like how Luffy awakened the ability, because I'm of the mindset that, like, I love power-ups in anime and manga when the power-ups are associated with character writing, like some sort of like, to me, that's what power-ups, that's what separates power-ups from just being, like, mindless, just cool shonen stuff versus, well, not even shonen. I think it's just the classic of shonen, which is just that the power-up isn't necessarily even the point. It's like, generally, a lot of really good shonen written power-ups are like, you have a fight, you have the character going through something over the course of the fight, the character takes a step forward as a character, right? So something, or some sort of emotional trigger, or there's something that happens within the character themselves, and then whatever that is, that sort of moment is rewarded with a power-up, right? So it's kind of like your own personal growth as a human being, it's rewarded with you, like, literally manifesting that as a power-up in battle, right? Because shonen is meant to play to a lot of our, like, personal fantasies or whatever, right? Like, in real life, when you have a moment of character growth or something like that, it's like, I've become braver, that feels good, and then shonen is like a fantasy world where it's like, oh, you stepped up, you did something brave or whatever, like, you had this sort of moment of character growth, and it's not just figurative, but it also translates into literally becoming stronger, right? Literally, you get a power-up. Like, the power-up and the actual, like, the power-up tying into the character growth is generally what I think is really, really cool in shonen storytelling in general, right? Like, it's the same as, you know, when Zoro unlocked Haki for the first time. It's not just like Mr. One didn't just, like, defeat Zoro, like, Mr. One didn't just knock out Zoro and then Zoro woke up with Haki. The key part was Zoro having all those flashbacks and realization in between point A and point B, right? Flashbacks to what he was learning when he was younger, flashbacks to sort of some self-reflection, like, what am I doing wrong, stuff like that, and then that translated into him awakening his Haki, right? That was the beauty of that scene, and that's something similar you see throughout all of One Piece, like even if it's a power-up that the character has already trained beforehand, right? Like, Robin had already trained Demonio Fleur in the time skip, but she the power-up when it's being debuted with Black Maria, it fits very well as sort of like a cap to her character growth, where she's explaining that, like, I used to have nobody, but now I have this family that really loves me, and I want to protect them, and I actually will become a demon for them, and then that all translates into the moment of power-up, right? Her becoming her Demonio Fleur form, right? Or Sanji having his moment of growth against Queen, and then that translates into him, like, Like when he makes his resolve to destroy the raid suit and everything and commit to whatever happens next, that's when he's getting his power-ups of like he gets to keep the exoskeleton and he gets Ifrit Janbei and things like that, right? Or Luffy with Gear Second, right? He had to he explains that I lost to Aokiji, I lost to you guys, I realized that I needed to get stronger, I needed to find a way to push myself to get stronger, and so then the cap to this sort of like realizations and reflections on his responsibility as a leader culminates in Gear Second, right? So that's, in general, that's just good shit in One Piece. It's good shit in shonen writing in general, right? Like, that's why, like, you know, like fucking Gohan turning Super Saiyan 2 is such a powerful moment for so many people, because it's not just he magically gets Super Saiyan 2, it's the culmination of a lot of writing around this character that culminates in him finally becoming who his father imagined he could become, who everyone thought he had the potential to become, and actually stepping into that role, right? The character growth is rewarded with the power-up. If you just have the power-up, I don't think that that's really that strong writing in general, right? So I've done videos on this in the past. I just don't think that the way Luffy awakened Gear 5th is good for Luffy's character. I just don't think it's good for Luffy's character. I don't think it's good dramatic character writing. I think it's just a power-up for the sake of, like, I think it's the simplest possible way you can write a power-up, which is character, like, it's in fact the only way to have no character writing at all, which is like the character is literally not conscious when they awaken their ability, right? You just are defeated, unconscious, dead, whatever. You're out of it. It's not possible to have any character growth. And then you awaken with an all-powerful ability, right? So to me, I've said this many times before, I think the way Luffy awakens Gear 5th, while it's dramatic in terms of a suspense perspective, because like from the reader, it's like, oh my god, Luffy just lost. Oh my god, he awakened Gear 5th. It's really bad from a character writing perspective, especially in comparison to Luffy's other power-ups. Like, look at what he went through to develop Future Sight against Katakuri. There was a lot of internal character writing for Luffy over the course of that fight. Like a lot of self-reflection, thoughts, flashbacks, things like that, that led to him developing Future Sight. To me, that felt like good character writing for Luffy. I feel like I got to learn a little bit more about Luffy and how he views things over the course of that fight, right? Gear 5th is like the simplest way that you can write a power-up from a character writing perspective. So I've never liked that. That being said, so all of that being said, I can dislike that aspect of how Gear 5th was debuted in terms of what it means for Luffy's character, but I can still really, really appreciate the ability for what it is and how well it fits Luffy's character and kind of like the final version of what he is supposed to be. I just wish that how he got there was based on like some better character writing that was kind of more representative of how Luffy's been written throughout the story in the past when he's gotten these power-ups. So it's like there's two separate discussions for me there. Now, as for whether or not you like, so like the reason I'm going in depth in that is because I feel like your comment covered a couple things. You're like, you don't like how easily Luffy got Gear 5th and you don't like the power in general. I like the power in general, and I feel like it's a perfect encapsulation of like who Luffy is, and like really captures the final version of the final concept of who he's supposed to be. And I also low-key don't think it's that broken, because like it's broken on a surface level if you're like, oh my god, he's reality warping and stuff like that, right? But if you're actually looking at the fight, Luffy's biggest leap in strength was not getting Gear 5th in that Kaido fight. His biggest leap in strength was getting Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Before he got Advanced Conqueror's Haki, Luffy was like nowhere close to Kaido. Like Luffy, when he was like that was the first several chapters of the fight up to 1010, like everybody together was getting their hits in on Kaido and Big Mom, but like there was no chance any of them could like spar with them 1v1. When Luffy got Advanced Conqueror's Haki, that's when Luffy fucking skyrocketed. That's when he reached like in the Yonko top tier sort of like knocking on that door, when suddenly he went from like, that was like 0 to 100. Suddenly like Luffy went from like consider this. Before Luffy got Advanced Conqueror's Haki, like on the way up to Onigashima, on the way up, to the rooftop, Luffy was clashing equally with Ulti. Like he was tying equally with Ulti in a Haki clash. He actually lost that Haki clash to Ulti, a Tobiropo. Okay? That's base Luffy. After he got Advanced Conqueror's Haki, Luffy split the sky with Kaido. And for about 40 chapters or 30 chapters, Luffy was just straight up boxing with Kaido, a Yonko, in base form. Like, they were trading Advanced Conqueror's Haki blows, right? No Gear 4th, nothing needed. Advanced Conqueror's Haki was Luffy's biggest growth. And then you can even look, like, compare the Gear 5th versus Kaido section to the Gear 4th versus Kaido section. Gear 5th has so many more variety abilities and everything like that, but, like, there's not a huge difference between what Luffy was doing in Gear 4th versus, like, literally look at chapter 1042 and compare it to, like, the Gear 5th section of the Kaido fight. Luffy was still doing really well against Kaido in Gear 4th. Like, he was still giving him a run for his money. Obviously, Kaido would have won that fight regardless of without CP0, but, like, Luffy was doing well. And then he got Gear 5th, and that surprised Kaido with a lot of abilities, but then by the end of it, Kaido was still doing well against Gear 5th. It wasn't like there was, like, Luffy was, like, it's not like Kaido was, like, destroying Luffy before Gear 5th, and Luffy was just totally, like, being smacked around or something, and then Luffy got Gear 5th, and then he was, like, way stronger than Kaido or something. No. Oda wrote a really long fight for Luffy versus Kaido before Gear 5th, so that's what I appreciate about it, was that it didn't feel like all of a sudden Luffy's just, like he was getting his ass handed to him by Kaido, and then Luffy gets killed by Kaido, but then Luffy wakes up and now he's a god. It felt like Luffy was already put in the work, and he was, like, he had gotten to Kaido's level, roughly. Obviously not exactly equal with Kaido, but, like, he had gotten to hanging with a Yonko for, like, a long period of time, and really pushing Kaido hard. Like, Kaido himself literally says during his fight with Luffy, before Luffy unlocks Gear 5th, like, I can't remember the last time I was pushed like this in a fight, right? So, like, and Kaido had been fighting Big Mom just, like 2 days ago, right? So Luffy was already doing really fucking good against Kaido, all things considered. Gear 5th just gave him that added edge. Like, it's easy to over-exaggerate how good Gear 5th is because it seemingly is limitless in its capabilities. But at the end of the day, the bigger thing that got Luffy to Kaido's level was Luffy learning Advanced Conqueror's Haki, because Haki is always going to be more important than the Devil Fruits. Like, the big leap was chapter 1010. Like, compare Luffy's performance in chapter, like, 1000, 1008, 1009 or whatever to Luffy's performance in chapter 1010. That's a way bigger leap than comparing Luffy's performance in 1042 to, like, Luffy's performance in, like, the 1044 and onwards and everything. You see what I'm saying? Like, the big leap was Advanced Conqueror's Haki. So if you want to say something's, like, too big of a boost for Luffy, then you could argue that's Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Gear 5th was, like, the cherry on top. It's more memorable and crazier and more iconic, but it wasn't as big of a boost, relatively speaking, as the Advanced Conqueror's Haki. I think I'm harping on the same point over and over here. But, yeah. Like, I do think that Oda did... I don't feel like when I read that fight, it's like Luffy got bailed out by Gear 5th. I feel like that was a fight where Luffy really had to claw and fight, like, a lot. And, like, get knocked down, back up a lot of times over the course of that. And do a little better each time. And Gear 5th was kind of like, in a sense, the reward for his efforts getting the fight that close in the first place. Because the gap at the start of the rooftop to chapter 1043, like, Luffy closed that gap bit by bit. Like, first he's way down below Kaido, but he's still fighting and everything. Then he gets Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Now he can go toe-to-toe with Kaido. Then Kaido beats him once, but then Luffy comes back, and this time he's even got better Advanced Conqueror's Haki, and now he's, like, really keeping up. Now he can split the sky with Kaido. Then the fight progresses further. Kaido starts getting drunk. He gets stronger and everything, but Luffy breaks out Gear 4th, and then chapter 1042 is just, like, a heavyweight boxing match. Luffy's, like, got to the point where he's going blow for blow with this Yonko. And then finally, due to outside interference, and I think this was a really good choice by Oda, outside interference, like, we can presume that Luffy wouldn't have gone the distance with Kaido in just Gear 4th, but Oda made it feel more justified in that, like, he showed that Luffy really did bridge the gap on his own, right? He got there on his own. He loses due to outside interference. And then after that, Luffy wakes up with Gear 5th. And it's like, he's come so far already over the course of this fight that, like, and he got robbed of getting a fair finish on his own terms, right? He's come so far over the course of this fight. He's going toe-to-toe with the Yonko now. He's unfairly cheated out of getting to finish out on his own terms. And then it's like Luffy's reached the pinnacle of what he can be on his own at that point in time. And so then he awakens now with a final ability in terms of awakening his Devil Fruit ability. And it's something that we always knew Luffy could do. Like, we always knew that, like, ever since Doflamingo explained it, we always knew that Devil Fruit Awakening was in the cards for Luffy. It's just like, okay, now's the time that he's going to get it, because he pushed himself so far already. Now he's going to wake up with that added extra edge. It's kind of the reward for how far Luffy had already pushed himself over the course of the fight. So in a sense, like I both appreciate how Oda made Gear 5th feel fair to me in terms of like what Luffy kind of had to do to get it. The only thing that's really, and I love the ability. The only thing that's really missing for me with Gear 5's debut is I would have just loved the character writing. Like there's no writing associated with Luffy over the course of this entire process. Like everything that I just explained right there, that's like from an outside perspective what's happening. But I would have liked Luffy himself to kind of be going through things and like reflecting and kind of growing as a character the way that he had to do before he got Gear 2nd. Or kind of like even just the realizations that he's having as he gets to unlock Future Sight, right? Like I feel like I'm reading as a character, whereas when I'm reading Luffy versus Kaido, even though it's cool how often Luffy keeps coming back, there's no sort of like, it feels very one-dimensional. It feels like I'm reading a very flat character just saying like, haha, I'm back, haha, hee hee, I'm back, and like he's literally giggling most of the time. So I don't feel like I'm getting much depth of character out of it. Objectively, he's coming back a lot. So objectively, he earns the power-up, I think. But in terms of writing, there's pretty much nothing happening as a sort of writing arc over the course of that fight. So I would have loved a writing arc to get him there. Long explanation, but yeah, part of that's just getting my own thoughts off of there. Anyway. Sorry, let me just make a quick note. All right. Let me just check one thing. JP, thanks for being a member for 26 months, man. Imagine if this is how Ancient Giants came to be. Yeah, somebody mentioned that earlier in stream. I think that's a really, really cool idea. Really cool idea. Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. Because maybe Ancient Giants were just never a thing. And it also would explain like how Onigashima came to be a thing. Like Onigashima called a demon, all of that. Julian Reed, thanks for the 2. Loki times Hadruden versus Dorian Brogy, 2 princes and 2 kings. But Hadruden kind of sucks, right? Like, I'm just going to say this. Dorian Brogy are a lot stronger than Makvis, and now they're amped up. Like, Hadruden sucks. He's not worthy of being a prince. You know, that's kind of his whole thing. Damian Wright, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 21 months, man. I really do appreciate it. Did you have a comment you wanted to say or something like that? I really do appreciate the long-term support. Mini Wano analysis? Yeah, essentially. All right, side by side, we're going to be doing something fun at the same time, which is this. I got this pulled up for y'all. We're going to be, oh my God, my hair's kind of crazy now. Because we're at the end of the wonderful World of One Piece collection, we're going to do a final tier list at the same time of the various island posters to pick the most beautiful, the fairest in all the land. So we're just going to be doing this on the side a little bit. And obviously, if you want to get the World of One Piece collection, we've got all the deals going right now. You can buy 2, get 2, any of them free. The link is pinned at the top of the chat. And if you want to get 15 in one go to really get the whole thing, then we got a deal for that as well. Yeah, so just from top to bottom, we're going to start doing a little tier list of this on the side. I got the tier list maker right up here. But definitely, if you want the World of One Piece... Oh, and there's one last thing. Anybody who completes the entire collection... So the first person to complete the entire collection, including version 2s of every island, was Justin Holland. But some of you have also completed the entire collection just as is. And you have 1 of every island. Version 2s, I'm referring to, some islands have like multiple versions of them, like Thriller Bark. Justin Holland completed every single island. There's no need to complete every single island. But if you are somebody that... that has gotten every single island, no need to get multiple versions or whatever. If you've gotten every single island, version 1, version 2, doesn't matter, then you unlock the final island that we will send to you for free, which is, can anyone guess the final island? It's an exclusive travel poster that's for free only for if you have the full collection, basically. If you have the full collection, if you've gotten at least 1 poster of every island, then this is a bonus extra that the artist made. It's the moon. So that's our final bonus extra poster. If you have the entire collection or whatever, then you unlock the final exclusive island. We'll just send you that for free. just as a kudos for basically getting the whole thing. Yeah, so feel free to check that out if you want to flesh out your full collection or whatever to unlock the moon. Justin will be sending yours right away, and then anybody else that's completed the whole collection, then definitely watch out for that. So yeah, I thought the moon is a really cool idea. JWP, thanks for the 10. That looks pretty cool. Moon cannot be bought. Moon is only true if you get one of every island. So yeah, seriously, if you're somebody who's got every island, we'll shout this out in the promotion that goes out tomorrow or whatever, but just email us with a photo of every island, or email us and say, hey, I've got every island, you can check my list, or tag me on Twitter with a photo of every island, and we'll send you the moon for free. So that's like the one piece. JWP, thanks for the 10. Even Luffy couldn't damage the Gorosei. Don't know if he's using Advanced Conqueror's Haki or whatever. Assuming Emu gave similar regeneration / immortality buffs to Dorian Brogy, are they like Yonko level now? LMFAO. I am not going to factor in regeneration into their abilities anymore, because now it seems more like either you know how to do it or don't know how to do it sort of thing. So I'm going to ignore the regeneration. I'm just going to look at him in terms of how are they as combatants. I don't know the level of buff that Dorian Brogy got. Part of the problem is that we don't know how strong Dorian Brogy were initially on their own, in the first place. So because we don't know how strong Dorian Brogy were initially on their own, it's a little bit hard to tell. Fuchsia Village, I think, is a beautiful island. I really like the art style as it progressed over the course of the collection. How strong do you guys think Dorian Brogy are, by the way? How strong are Dorian Brogy? Dory and Brogy original strength. Yonko Commander, like 2 or 3. Yonko 1. Above Yonko 1. Yeah, Fuchsia Village I find really beautiful. For me, that's an A-tier island. I'm going to go ahead and put Fuchsia Village. No, I don't know, because the standard gets really high as it goes. I'm going to go ahead and put Fuchsia as an A-tier island. I'm going to put it as an A-tier island. I'm going to put Baratier. I think Baratier is beautiful. I think Baratier is like an S-tier island, personally. Because the level of textures and nuances and shading and color range for this, it's really beautiful. I think it's just hard to appreciate at first glance until you really look at it closely. But I think Baratier is like S. I'm going to go ahead and put it there. Sabo sweeps them. Sabo does not sweep the Gorosei. Come on, get out of here. I think that, like, if we imagine that strong characters will be able to damage the Gorosei and other characters with regeneration, I do think they all fall a little bit. Like Saturn without regeneration, I don't think is Admiral level anymore. With regeneration, I thought he was Admiral level. Now I don't think he's Admiral level. I think it's somewhere below that. I feel like Jupiter definitely below Admiral level. I think once you get to Mars, Venus Juro, and Valkyrie could all be Admiral level or higher. I think they're in that range. I think they have that potential. I think they might be there. Okay, so original strength of Dorian Brogy, I think generally people think... So a lot of people think it averages about to, like, Yonko first mate level. I definitely think that's very possible. I think Elbaf Cannon is Loki still one of the most powerful attacks that we've seen. Their combined move in the story. And so I think, like... Sorry. I think that in their amped form, we just don't know how much of an amp it is. Like, Emu seemed to imply it's a huge amp. But, like, bad guys are always going to hype up their own abilities. Arlong Park, I think, is a solid... I think it's a B. I think part of the problem is that the island itself isn't that spectacular. Arlong Park is one of the simplest islands. The art style of it is like an A, but I think the imagery is a B, is what I'd say. Loketown, I think, is like... Loketown is fairly simple. It's got nuance if you look closely, like all the people celebrating and everything like that. I like the framing. It's a very dramatic framing. I'm gonna put it in... I'll put it in C for the moment. I don't love Loketown as much. Reverse Mountain I fucking love. Reverse Mountain is an easy A. I'm going to try and keep S tier pretty tight, but I think Reverse Mountain is an easy A, arguably an S. I think Reverse Mountain, my favorite thing is the gradient, which feels like nostalgia, because that's what Reverse Mountain feels like to me. Alabasta is an S. What do you guys feel about Drum? How do you guys feel about Drum? Well, let me do one for Reverse Mountain first. I'll just throw out polls as we go. I might not do a poll for each one, but we can do polls as we go a little bit. Power creep is inevitable? Yeah. Yeah, it's just the natural cycle of a shonen series. Natural cycle for shonen series. I don't know if Dorian Brogy, like, I think the fact that Oda felt the need to amp Dorian Brogy suggests that they might not originally be. I don't think they're both Yonko level now, though. Yeah, and you have to have the regen hack to fight for real. So maybe we'll see, like, the monster trio, like, fighting Dorian Brogy a little bit, like Zoro and Sanji, and then they're like, well, how the fuck do we deal lasting damage? I think that's a possibility. All right, Reverse Mountain A, that makes sense. Drum S. You guys think S? I'll give you guys a quick poll for Drum. Drum is a beautiful depiction, for sure. It's very, very colorful. Very vibrant. Oh, shit. Hold on. Sorry, stream just taking a second. I think people are just saying S for Drum, so maybe I don't even need to do a poll. Unless inflation exists. No, I'm not saying they were Yonko level. I'm saying, like, some people said initially that Dorian Brogy's current level might now be Yonko based on the buff. I don't think Yonko level is that easy to reach. Like, it's a very, very high bar. To me, Yonko level just means you split the sky. If you fight somebody else, you're splitting the sky. I don't think Dorian Brogy are splitting the sky. Technically, that's only if you're, like, Advanced Conquerors Haki. If you have Advanced Conquerors Haki or whatever, that's when you can split the sky. But I also don't think there are characters that are, like... When I say Yonko level, I mean the Kaido, Shanks, Big Mom, and Up group, basically, right? So, like, I don't know if Blackbeard even qualified. Like, Blackbeard has the title, but we know at this point that Buggy also has. Like, having the title is not what I'm referring to. Like, there's a difference between, like, Yonko level in terms of, like, what we mean in terms of power scaling, which is a certain group of characters, right? Versus, like, the technical title. Like, are you technically called a Pirate Emperor, right? So Blackbeard I put in just below Yonko at the moment. Like, I don't think he's on par with Kaido, Big Mom, or Shanks. I think if he fought like Kaido, I don't think he would do as well as Luffy did, for example. All right, Drum is tight. I'm gonna go ahead. Oh shit, I gotta unlock that door. Yeah, testing. All right, so Drum, I guess, is like... Yeah, we'll put it in A, but it'll be like high A or something like that. It'll be high A. We'll put Drum in high A. I don't know what high A means. We'll just put an A. We'll put an A. It makes A. Things won't look as good in the tier list maker just because everything's a little bit cramped. Skypiea, easy S. I love Skypiea. I think Skypiea is fucking beautiful. Alabasta posters so far. I love the Alabasta poster. I just love the art style changes as things go on. Because, like, no offense, He doesn't take it. I've told him this, but like if you go back to the earliest stuff, like Whole Cake is very very simple compared to what the posters slowly become. Like, and Whole Cake was one of the very first ones. Skypiea is just gorgeous, and Alabasta, like, so much detail. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put Skypiea right away in S. Where's Skypiea at? All right, there we go. I'm not gonna rank him, but we'll do that at the end. Chandra, I think, to me, Chandra's cool. I think it's just hard to say what it is. Yeah, to me, a Yonko is basically just like you're in the Sky Splitter group, and I guess you could make the argument that like, well, but not everyone has advanced Conqueror's Haki. I don't know if there's any character I would confidently say is a Yonko tier character who currently does not have Conqueror's Haki, right? You get what I'm saying? It's like, to me, if you're Yonko, you're in that group. I don't know if there's characters that crack the Yonko tier who don't have Conqueror's Haki. I've seen people talk about Akainu. My opinion is still that if Akainu is the same level as he was pre-time skip, right? I don't think he's Yonko level right now. Meaning, Akainu pre-time skip is essentially Aokiji level, exactly equal to Aokiji, right? Any difference in strength between him and Aokiji is just, it's so minuscule that it's essentially non-existent. Like, they're tied for 10 days straight, right? So to me, I don't think of Aokiji as Yonko level. Therefore, I don't think of Akainu as necessarily Yonko level, unless Akainu got Advanced Conqueror's Haki over the time skip, which is very, very possible. It's very, very possible. I think if Akainu got Advanced Conqueror's Haki, then he's like a problem for anyone in the story, because I do believe that he's a future Luffy opponent or something like that, you know? Chandra, I don't know. Chandra's not S. Maybe A, B, C. I'll even give D. I don't know. Chandra is tricky. Grizzly Adams, thanks for the 10. Stopping the regen isn't permanent, and as we see with Sommers, leaving Haki behind also likely drains you much faster. Regeneration requires you to be able to put your opponent down quickly. I don't know how much of that, though, is like Emu related. Like, did Emu kind of fix that or do something? Like, I don't know. I think we need greater clarification on the regen. Because, like, keep in mind, Gabon fucked up Sommers and basically left Sommers behind. Like, I call that a win. You know, if Sommers gets back up eventually, I still don't, like, that's fine, but I still call it as, like, Gabon beat Sommers, even if Sommers isn't dead. You know what I mean? Because Gabon then had to go run off to go save his child and everything like that, you know? Okay, looks like Chandra is going to average out to a B. It's going to average out to a B. I think that makes sense. I think it's good. But nothing crazy. Nothing crazy, you know? Water 7. Simple, clean. What do people think about Water 7? Even though he just sat at a desk for 2 years? Says YY7. No, because he did the hard part first, which is he had a life or death battle, right? So you really just need one Haki Bloom to get Conqueror's Haki. He did it like, he did the hard part, you know? He fought Aokiji for 10 days, right? So if that, like, to me, it's like, if he fought Aokiji for 10 days and didn't get Conqueror's Haki, then he's probably never getting Conqueror's Haki. So, yeah. Okay, looks like Water 7's going to... I think it's going to be an A just about. An A just about. Just about an A. But what about any Slobby? What about any Slobby? Zoom in a little bit. Oh, my bad. My bad. I don't want to bias you guys with my opinions. Yeah, I feel like characters that I would say confidently are Yonko level, right now, are obviously Emu. Hey Harley, wait, we'll go soon. Yeah, we'll go soon. Emu, Luffy, Shanks, Dragon, Mihawk, the obvious ones, right? So those guys are definitely there. I feel like characters that are likely Yonko level are Garling. I think Garling's the strongest Gorosei. So I'm gonna say I think I'll just say straight up I think Garling is Yonko level. I think this is not a ranking. Okay, this is not in order. Okay, I'm just saying like in terms of like certainty, like because Garling could be stronger. He could be stronger than everyone except Emu. That's entirely possible right now. We don't know. My guess is Garling is in the Yonko group. I think my guess is probably Shamrock is a Yonko level character. It just feels hard because he's done so little so far, and like his reveal didn't do anything that impressive. And then you got characters like Warkiri that's debatable. Like I don't know. Like we need a little bit more out of him. His showing against Luffy was impressive but short. And then Akainu might have reached Yonko level. He might even if Akainu has advanced Conqueror's Haki, he is very firmly Yonko level, if that makes sense. So I think that we could have anywhere from like 6 to 10-ish Yonko level characters in the story right now. All right, Enies Lobby's getting to S tier. Interesting. I think Enies Lobby is really beautiful, but I do think it's one that you got to zoom in a little bit to really realize. All right, Ohara. I think Ohara is like a B. I think it's a cool contrast. I think it's nothing crazy though. I think it's a solid B. Thriller Bark. I know a lot of people really like Thriller Bark. We actually did this poll last time. I'm gonna go ahead and put Thriller Bark in A. We're not gonna do the version 2s. Saboti. What do people think about Saboti? What do people think about Saboti? If people strongly disagree about any of these, like Thriller Bark or something, just let me know. If you want to call Emu a her, you can, bro. We don't know either way yet, so who cares, lol. Emu might be, yeah, Emu, it's totally possible. I wouldn't be surprised if Emu's at the very least in a woman's body right now. A man trapped in a woman's body. Gonna go through the whole Yamato thing one more time. Saboti's pretty split. Where's it at? Where's it at? Oh. All right. Amazon Lily. Yeah, I don't know if the key is to Gabon's trick was just advanced Conqueror's Haki or not. I still feel like it's something a little bit different because otherwise, why play up so much over the course of Egghead that like Luffy doesn't know how to stop the regeneration? Yeah, Amazon Lily solid B. Solid B. Well, kind of adds up to a little bit higher than B, but you know what? I think it's like a B. I think Amazon Lily's like a B. Yeah. I'd put Amazon Lily here. I think next we got Impel Down. I think Impel Down's, to me, Impel Down's like an A. Do you guys strongly agree, disagree with that? I think Impel Down's like an A. I think Marine Ford is like a strong A. Marine Ford's just really dramatic. Looks really cool. I don't know if Marine Ford makes S. Might be a little too simple. Sometimes simple is good. Kamabaka Kingdom is fucking cool as fuck. I just don't, I think the island itself is lame. I think the island itself is lame, so it's hard to get hyped too much about the island. Impel's S for you guys? Oh, I can do a quick poll for Impel Down. I'm only gonna give S and A. I don't think it's below A. People use both for Emu. Yeah. Oh shit, people really like Impel Down. Okay, my bad. Well, I'll let some votes trickle in. Yeah, I can move Impel Down up. Well, then what about Marine Ford? You guys like Marine Ford like that? Shit, I guess I just don't know what people like as much. I guess I have my own preferences. I mean, everybody does, obviously. That's what all of this is, you know? I'm really curious as to... The Final War matchups just became really interesting based off of this, because, like, the Dami Reversi is actually low-key the biggest swing in potential Final War matchups imaginable. Just because, like, it can... Yeah, I'm leaning A also. I'm going to go with A. What about Kamabaka? What about Kamabaka Kingdom? I think Kamabaka is low-key pretty cool. I don't know if it's like S or something, but I think it's a pretty solid depiction. For an island that's not the coolest island in the world, it's actually probably the most mocked island by Oda in One Piece. All right, we'll go with B. We'll go with B. I'm cool with B. I think it is a B island. It's just I just think that he came up with a cool concept for it. Oh, Tequila Wolf. Tequila Wolf feels very Soviet Russia to me. Strong B. Yeah, I agree. At least how movies depict Soviet Russia. You know what I mean? What's that? The funny joke is like, oh, according to Hollywood, Mexico is always like yellow, like a huge hue of yellow. Russia is always like bleak gray, blue gradient or whatever. Gotta let the Americans know where we're at when we're cutting between scenes in foreign countries. Okay, solid A. Solid A for Tequila Wolf. What about Witheria, though? What about Witheria? Ajid Ishmael says, Morge, please. Yeah, what's on your mind, man? What's going on? What are you thinking about? Someone mentioned in this stream that Tequila Wolf might be connecting with all of the other bridges like a giant pentagram, a la Full Metal Alchemist, which is a very, very cool thought to me. Why does Witheria look so haunting? Harudas lives here. Yeah, I don't know. Witheria looks pretty psychedelic. All right, looks like Witheria's going in B. So Tequila Wolf we're putting in... Fuck, what was Tequila Wolf? I fucking forgot. Tequila Wolf was A, Witheria's B. Tequila Wolf is A, Witheria's B. All right, whoops. All right, and then we got Fishman Island. What do you guys think about Fishman Island? Ajad is trying to get my attention. He got my attention. Meek says, Morge, remember that Mihawk said that the greatest power in the sea is to make allies to Luffy. How does this, You know what? That's really cool. That's a really cool contrast because it's like Luffy makes friends through organic means, whereas Emu just like forcefully subjugates. I think that's a really cool contrast. Interesting. So people are very polarized on Fishman Island because we have no votes for A, but we've got a lot of votes in between for like... I mean, we've got some... Fishman Island's very polarizing. I did not expect that. So it looks like the majority technically think B. I'm going to go ahead and say my... the majority technically think B, but like some faction of people feel strongly about it and want it in S. I low-key want to put it where I want to put it, which is like A, but we can say this is more so the people's votes, so we can put it in B. I guess the art style is a very polarizing art style because it's very abstract. Punk Hazard, what are your thoughts on that? It kind of looks like an ant farm wall. I think it's just, do you like the art style or not? Punk Hazard, I'm so happy with because like to me it looks really badass, and this is the only island that I think we kind of cheated with because the goal was to make the islands beautiful pieces of art without emphasizing characters, without utilizing characters for it. But Punk Hazard, it's just Akainu and Aokiji are so important to it, and there's very little outside of the lab on Punk Hazard that makes it exciting. So just this is the one where we cheated and we included Akainu and Aokiji. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put Punk Hazard in A. I think Dressrosa is not that strong. I'm gonna go ahead and put Dressrosa in either B or C. Punk Hazard, I'm gonna put in A. I think Dressrosa belongs maybe in like. I don't think it belongs in B. I think it belongs in C. I don't think Dressrosa is that strong. Zoe, I think Zoe. What do you guys think about Zoe? Zoe is a really cool one, very unique. It's maybe the most unique of all the posters, just based on Zoe being, arguably the most unique of all the islands. Emu clears Kaido though? Yeah. People are arguing about the gender debate here. I think Emu will ultimately be a male, just might be in a female body right now. I think it's just the way Oda writes. I don't think the final villain of the story is going to be like some badass woman because it's just not Oda's style. But, maybe he might surprise us all. Maybe he might be progressive at the very, very end. Marijoa. What do people think about Marijoa? Oh, people were tied 50-50 on Zoe. I'm going to put Zoe in S then because I think Zoe deserves S personally. What about Marijoa? Morge, would Emu be a cartoonish villain if he's living in a female body / current person sitting on the throne? A badass villain won't do this. I think this is no, I disagree with this discussion. A badass person wouldn't do this. I'm not getting into that. I think it's perfectly fine, whatever. I think possessing bodies is interesting. If Emu's a woman, that's like I don't think that's gonna be the case. Whole Cake, I think Whole Cake's like a B or a C, honestly. I'll give multiple options, obviously. I think Whole Cake's pretty simple. But maybe people like it a lot. You know what's interesting? A lot more people bought Whole Cake version 2 than version 1. And I think version 1's way better. I don't understand why people like version 2. Maybe I'm just missing something. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put Whole Cake in B. All right. We're getting there. Wano. What do you guys think about Wano? Yeah, wasn't Orochimaru in a woman's body for a bit? Wano low A. JWP, I agree. I feel like the best posters have more unique designs and varying colors. Yeah, and I definitely think there was an evolution in art style over time. A lot of people like Wano. Oh, but a lot of people dislike it too. It's got a nice spread. I'm going to go ahead and put it in A. I feel like it's an A island. I don't think it's S level, but I think it is a pretty good island. Onigashima. Onigashima, another very dramatic island like Marineford, even if pretty simple. Like, some islands do look really cool even with simple colors, like Marineford did. Or Water 7. It just depends on the vibe. Yeah, Harley, wait. We're almost going. Just wait. Damn, people like Onigashima. Oh, okay, it's got a bit of a split now. People are liking Onigashima, though. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put it in A. Because a slight majority said, but it seems like it was a very strong A. Onigashima. Oh, God Valley. Okay, we're down to our last batch of things. Yeah, we just hit this one in the anime. Snubbed, wow, lol. I think Onigashima is really cool. I think I used my personal preference to be the weighing decider on that one. I want to keep S pretty tight. Yeah, people fuck with God Valley. Egghead. I think Egghead's like a B. I think Egghead's like a B. It's just a pretty. It was cool when we first put it out, but now it seems like a pretty simplistic island, I think, compared to a lot of the other ones. Because it was the first one that he came up with. Hachinosu, I'm just gonna say I think is like a B or a C. Hachinosu, I low-key think is a C. Elbaf, Elbaf Knight is an easy S. We're just gonna go ahead and put that in S. I'm not gonna rank Elbaf Day. It's just 2 Elbafs, you know what I mean? But Elbaf Knight, beautiful, 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 easy S. Elbaf Village. What do people think about Elbaf Village? The only reason we like tripled down on Elbaf is because that was the current arc. Egghead version 2 is better? Yeah, it is what it is. I didn't want to do the version 2s for each one of these. Okay, seems like it ends up in A. Yeah, I think this is a solid one. All right, we got Laugh Tale. Yeah, we got Laugh Tale. One sec. Testing, testing. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, we're back. Yeah, Laughdale, how'd y'all feel? So Laughdale, pretty polarizing. Got a lot of S's and a lot of B's, so I'm just gonna put it in A. I think it's a solid A. I think it's a solid A. And then the last one was what I just showed you guys. Whoops. Let me switch off of chat real quick. Yeah, last one, what I just showed you guys, the moon. The moon is not technically in the tier list. I'm curious what it oh no, it is in the tier list. It is in the tier list. Oh, I'm happy to see people fuck with the moon. That's good because as the final, like the unlockable island, the one that's not really in the store, it had to be like a really cool concept. So I'm happy with that. All right, cool, cool. All right, we're going to go ahead and put the moon up here, and then we're going to do a couple polls just to figure out the best one. Couple polls. So we're going to do one real quick for what's our favorite island? Best island. Ratier, Alabasta. I know you don't get the best view of each one, unfortunately. Skypea, Ennis Lobby, because it's all cropped. But try your best. Here, let me do some showcasing. Before you vote. Nah, you just got to look at it in the tier list, otherwise it'll be too long. Baratier, Alabasta, Skypea. Baratier, Alabasta, Skypea, and Islabi. A lot of fans of Alabasta. It looks like Enies Lobby is going to take it here. It looks like Enies Lobby takes it here. I'm surprised. I thought Skypea would do better. I think it might not show as well in terms of detail here. And then we're going to do the next batch right here. Impel Down, Zoe, God Valley, and Elbaf. I'm curious. Oh shit, people really love Impel Down. All right, that's cool because that's not one of my favorites, but I saw a lot of you guys voting for that there. Looks like Elbaf is competing as well. Elbaf's in there. I'll give it 5 more seconds. Yeah, shit. This is really fucking tight. Let me do a run back without Zoe. Impel Down, God Valley, Elbaf, just because it's tight. All right? Get ready. Run back without Zoe. Best Island. Run back without Zoe. Paul, thanks for the 2. Kong hype, he will have to defend Marijua. I think we will get to see Kong fight just because he's an old guy from the previous generation, like 2 previous generations. We've seen Rayleigh, we've seen Gaban, we've seen like his position is just interesting because he's technically even above a Kainu in rank. It's just it hasn't really, like, we don't know how strong he's supposed to be. Okay, so Impel Down is going to move on to the next round. Oh shit, it is really tight though. I'll do one more Impel Down versus Elbaf. One more Impel Down versus Elbaf because that is really tight. Part of me is biased because I like Elbaf, but if people prefer Impel Down, people prefer Impel Down. That's okay. You know what? I have to set my personal bias aside because I think each time we run this, Impel Down's just a little bit in the lead. The people's choice says Impel Down. All right. And then we've got the moon still, so I'll just throw in, we'll just do these side by side. All right. We got Enies Lobby, Impel Down, and the moon. And just for show, I'll do a full display of each of them. This is Impel Down in all of its glory. Impel Down. We got the heaven and hell thing going on there. We got Enies Lobby, a lot of layers of visuals right here. And then, of course, we've got the final island, which really can only be seen here. I guess I can pull it up one more time. Hold on. The moon. All right. All right, y'all ready? Best island. Favorite island. Travel poster. Enies Lobby. Impel Down, the moon. All right, I'll give it 10 seconds. Everyone get your votes in. This is the big one. This is the one that really matters. Oh, shit. This is fucking tight. Everybody get your votes in. Live in Large says, Morge, I have a question. Do you think Emu will destroy Elbaf with the Mother Flame? I think there's a solid possibility that Elbaf is destroyed at the end of the arc. I think it's very possible. I think we need another use of Emu's weapon, and then this one will hit close to home. And I think that's kind of important, so it's not just a concept. I think the flooding also has to start to increase based on Dragon's claim that, like, the war for higher ground will soon begin. So I think we need more instances of the flooding to confirm Vegapunk's claim. This is so fucking tight, it's insane. I'll just give it 15 seconds. All right. This is actually absolutely dead even. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, and the winner of the best island poll by like an absolute hair, literally 1% ahead of Impel Down at 32%, the Moon had 32%, and Enies Lobby got 34%. Literally, if we had like 5-10 different people in chat today or something like that who voted, might have made a difference. You don't know. But Impel Down is our best island. Or not Impel Down, sorry. Enies Lobby is our best island. Enies Lobby 34%, Impel Down 32%, the Moon 32%. So what your guys' favorite island was at the end of the day was this. And I do agree. I love Enies Lobby. It's got a shit ton of layers of color, shit ton of layers. Just a lot of gradation, a very end of the world sort of majestic, sort of abstract feel to it. Really, really love it. Enies Lobby also is my favorite island visually in One Piece, period. Like, that's visually my favorite island in One Piece. It just strikes such a like fantastical sort of otherworldly image. It's really beautiful. So I'm happy that this won. I didn't expect Enies Lobby would take it over everything else, but like, yeah. The people have spoken. Good shit. But if you do like the Moon, just send us an image or an email or whatever, or tag me on Twitter or something, showcasing the full collection. You don't need version 2, multiple versions of each island, but if you've got one of each of these islands, basically, then just send me one of each of these posters or something like that. Then just tag us or whatever, and then we will send you the Moon for free as sort of like a big congrats and kudos and thank you for completing the full collection. And then you get the one exclusive unlockable island that nobody else can really get. With that, we are going to end stream so I can take my dog outside. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. This was a really fucking awesome chapter. I can't believe it's not break week, and next week we're getting another chapter. So I'm really fucking excited because we're just at like the most exciting time to be a One Piece fan. So thanks, everybody. If you're interested in getting the poster for yourself, then just like click the link, obviously, at the top of the chat. And yeah, with that, I will talk to you all later.